Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Ringside Report MMA. Tonight on the program, Nick Diaz says he's coming back. Do you believe him? More importantly, does Dana White? Bellator has 2 shows this weekend. UFC has 1. And Khamzat has been booked for 2 fights in 2 months in 2 different weight classes. A lot of MMA to get to. Ringside Report MMA starts right now. Yes.
Whoa, bravo.
And I'm here.
Bravo. That was awesome, man.
We got the guys here. AJ's here. Freddie's here. I'm Dave. Welcome to the program, everybody.
Short AJ.
Little AJ's here. Baby AJ.
Little
He's
AJ
back.
Here.
Glad to have you back, AJ. We got a lot of MMA to talk about here, guys. Nick
Man,
Diaz.
that was awesome, man. That was awesome.
Oh, you
What's
like
with
that
little trick that you put in there? I think it's awesome, man.
You like that, yeah.
I think that's a great way to start the show, man.
Thank you.
Hey, Fred.
Yeah.
I said the same thing last week, you see, and Dave then shamed me a little bit for my comment. But you see, AJ just like me.
Well, I said you were like AJ. I said you were like AJ, kind of commenting on the show, analyzing the show.
There's a little bit of AJ in everybody.
That's true.
There's a little bit of AJ in everybody,
and that's good. That's why.
Listen, man, that was professional, man.
Thank you.
That was professional. I'm impressed, man.
All right. Well, take it easy.
Are we getting a pay raise or something?
We got a show. We got the rest of the show to get to. So, we started off
strong.
The
show.
Let's see how the rest of the show goes, right? I mean, I don't know. It started off professional, but you're on the show now. So, it started off just me. Now you're here.
Good go, man.
Last week.
Look at my backdrop. You don't mention my backdrop? Look on this.
Yeah, it's all right. Last week we had a show. You weren't here. We're glad that you're back, AJ. Condolences for everything that, your uncle. Glad to have you back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
you want me to say something? I don't know.
I don't know. No, say nothing. Move on. Whatever.
Okay.
Nick, I'm just saying. I'm sorry for your loss, AJ. I love you, and I'm happy that you're back.
Thank you very much, bud.
God.
I appreciate it. I missed you guys, actually. I didn't know what to do all week, man.
Yeah, right? It feels like it's been a while. I want to talk about Nick Diaz here right off the top. We got a lot of stuff to get to, like I mentioned. Bellator has 2 shows this weekend. Lyoto Machida is going to be fighting Phil Davis tomorrow night for Bellator. And then Patchy Mix will be fighting Juan Archuleta. And I don't know if you guys are too familiar with these guys, but they are very good. I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far from Patchy Mix, and I like his name as well. So we'll talk about those fights in a little bit. Some Bellator action this weekend that is worth watching. Some UFC that's, not the best. It's Waterson versus Hill. Angela Hill versus Michelle Waterson in the main event. Not the strongest card from the UFC. Fred's not happy about it. Conor McGregor wants to fight both Diaz brothers. We'll get to that. Dustin Poirier wants to get paid if the UFC wants him to fight Tony Ferguson in October. By the way, that UFC 254 card in October, guys, will be in the afternoon. It's going to be prime time for the European audience because Khabib Nurmagomedov will be fighting Justin Gaethje in the main event. So it'll be in the afternoon for us here, North America. I think it's going to be like a 3 p.m. Eastern start time for the pay-per-view, the Khabib show. And that's supposed to have as a co-main event Tony Ferguson versus Dustin Poirier. So that's a solid pay-per-view. But Poirier is maybe not going to take that fight. So we'll see. We'll talk about that. We should touch base with our buddy Matt Casavant as well to talk about the whole Canelo deal. Canelo Alvarez suing DAZN, Golden Boy, and Oscar De La Hoya for breach of contract. There's some, contract deals going on in boxing, and Matt Casavant is our boxing analyst, and who will break that down for us later on. And, of course, Freddie and I were right last weekend. AJ wrong again. We both picked Alistair Overeem and Ovince St. Preux for the victories, and they were both victorious. And I think they were both underdogs as well, man, Fred, right? We were on the money last weekend, Freddie.
I mean, good picks, man.
Why don't we talk about 2 weeks ago? Why don't we talk about that one?
No,
that was right. Because that's
AJ,
too
one
far
at a time.
back.
Don't interrupt Fred. Let Fred talk.
And I was going to say, more important than our prediction, Dave, is the performance by Alistair Overeem. It was a beautiful performance. The first 2 rounds for him were very tough. Sakai gave him some trouble. I think Sakai won the first 2 rounds, but then Overeem showed like resiliency, cardio, technique. Like Overeem was very impressive in that win. So I come out of last week's event going like, Alistair Overeem, maybe he does have another run in him. Only with the way that Ngannou knocked him out, like he's not that close to a title fight. But a couple of wins, 1 or 2 more wins, and Overeem will be in the discussion for a title fight.
Yeah, the thing is the field at heavyweight is kind of weak, right? It's not a great roster right now, and Overeem is probably top 5, top 6 in the division. The problem is the 1 and 2 guys probably beat him every time. Stipe and Francis right now, I think, probably beat the Reem each and every time they fight. I love Alistair Overeem. He's a legend of the game. He showed he's a championship-level fighter. You know, that fight went into the championship rounds, and Overeem took over. That's what I saw there. You know, Sakai looked good early. You know, he's got some learning to do. He's got some improving to do. But Overeem came through, and he got the win because he's clutch and he knows how to get victories. He's a championship-level fighter, like I said. You know, I've got a lot of respect for Alistair Overeem. I just don't think come, championship time, come, world title fight, it's just he's a little older right now, and it just never worked out for him. I don't see it happening.
Look, Dave, I'll be honest. That's his 42nd career finish. I mean, you're talking 42 finishes. The guy has a lot of wear and tear on him. Coming into this fight with Augusto, he looked like he was in Overeem. He walked in, and I'm like, he doesn't have those missing abs. He looked in shape, and that's what carried the fight. The first 2, right? Sakai was coming in. He was putting on some big punches. It looked like it was going to be the end of Overeem. But you know what? Overeem's experience knew one thing is that this guy was going to come up big, and he weathered that storm. He was blocking that. He was putting up his guard. He was taking those punches, and he tired out Sakai, and that was his game. When at the 3rd round, I already knew that Overeem was just. It looked like his cardio was coming back, and really because it never left. He just let that guy tire. That's the experience of a man who has 42 career finishes. When you looked at the fight, it was a total clinch game, and when you're going to go into a clinch game with Overeem, you're going to probably lose, and that's exactly what happened. And at the end, when in the 5th round, I think it was 42 seconds or something into the something like that, where it was over. I mean, Overeem just destroyed him, man. And you know what? He's 40 years old. If this was Overeem in his early 30s, Overeem of the past, we'd say that he'd have a chance at a championship win. But let's be honest. He's 40 years old, and I agree with you, Dave. The first 2 guys up on top of that totem pole, they're going to have no problem with Overeem. And it's a shame. But you know what? This guy's he's a pride fighter. He's a legend. And you know what? Win or lose for Overeem, he's going to be in the UFC Hall of Fame at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big fan of Alistair Overeem. Always have been. I was happy to see him win. I picked him to win last weekend, and you weren't here on the show, so we defaulted you taking Sakai and the other guy, Alonzo. Alonzo, who lost to OSP. Fred and I both picked OSP and Alistair.
You think I would choose a guy with a name like Alonzo? Seriously,
why not?
Dave.
Why not? What's your problem? Are you a racist? What's the
No.
with you?
I'll tell you what Overeem needs to do. Okay? Overeem needs to keep himself in shape, because right now we don't know what's going to happen with Stipe. I tend to think it's going to be Ngannou because he's on track, going to be easier to be made. But if anything happens to Ngannou, who knows? The UFC might call on Overeem to come in to fight Stipe, because the UFC, they want to keep Stipe active. And that's a compelling matchup still. It's still a Overeem, it's a big star. You could sell a Stipe versus Overeem. So if you're Overeem and you're really serious about getting a title shot, stay in shape, stay ready in case that Stipe versus Ngannou gets announced, and who knows, somebody pulls out a couple of weeks before the fight. So I think that's Overeem's quickest alley to a championship fight.
I think Overeem right now is probably... 4, maybe 5th in the division? Curtis Blades beat him, right? Curtis Blades is probably above him. Stipe and Ngannou beat him. They're probably ranked above him. Jairzinho knocked him out. He's probably ranked above him. Other than that, though, he's up there.
If you need somebody for a title fight, are you really going to call Curtis Blades or are you going to call Alistair Overeem?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know, man. I would take Jairzinho. I think if they took Overeem right now, like if they said, well, we need Ngannou and Stipe, and then Ngannou drops out, and they need a new opponent for Stipe, I think Jairzinho makes more sense because he's 11-1. He's knocked out Overeem in 29 seconds. He just knocked out Junior Dos Santos. Like, I'd say probably Jairzinho. You know, as much as Overeem is the sexy pick, he's the big name, Jairzinho is a more legitimate contender. So is Curtis Blades. You know? Come on. Let's be real. Derek Lewis is probably more legit, too, at this point.
Oh.
That wouldn't be a bad fight.
They got to, you know what, that heavyweight division needs some Viagra.
Make it.
They really need to.
You mean John Jones?
You know what, they really need to.
John Jones loves Viagra
Jones
and all that stuff.
Exactly, and you would need a John Jones in the heavyweight to really make that division exciting again. I mean, it's not that it's not, but it's missing. It's missing, you know, some charisma and oomph. What? Freddie, we're gonna say.
I like the sound of. I like the sound of Derek. That's a good matchup for Overeem. I think he would win that matchup. Like, for sure, Derek Lewis always has a puncher's chance. That's pretty much his game. But other than that, I think Overeem is a much more skilled fighter. So if anything, if you're Overeem, you should welcome that matchup. That's the matchup that would be not easy, but the most like tailor-made for him, I would say.
Yeah, I think that would be a good style matchup for Overeem. And if I were Overeem, I would be hoping that Derek Lewis wins that fight on November 28th against Curtis Blades, rather than Curtis Blades win, because I think Blades is a bad style matchup for Overeem. But Derek Lewis will be fighting Curtis Blades November 28th at a UFC Fight Night, which is pretty sweet. That's a good fight at heavyweight. Winner of that could be up next for winner of Francis and Stipe. If John Jones doesn't get tossed into the mix there, which he should. They should just give John Jones a title fight against Stipe, but that's another story. I want to get to Nick Diaz. I want to talk about what's going on with him. Did you guys see the video of Nick Diaz and how good he looked? So Ariel Helwani a couple days ago. Let me pull this up for you here, everybody. Ariel Helwani, legendary MMA reporter, tweeted out a couple days ago that Nick Diaz plans to come back. That his manager is saying, Kevin Mubenga, says that, here is the tweet here. I will show it to you, boys.
Let's see it, Dave. Come on.
Hold on. There's a lot of buttons here. Let me try and figure it out. Here we go. There we are. See, we're all there. Okay, you like that, AJ? Yeah. So this is Ariel Helwani. He says, this is Nick Diaz earlier today. He weighs in the 175, 165-pound range per his manager, Kevin Mubenga. He just completed a 14-week diet and training regimen. This is the first time he cuts weight in approximately 4 years, Mubenga said. Diaz wanted to do a test cut because he is keeping a close eye on the big welterweight fights coming up. He is 100% planning on fighting again per Mubenga and is targeting an early 2021 return. He looks good, right? This is Nick Diaz weighing between 175 and 165, weighing in the welterweight range. Looks to want to come back at 170 pounds. That's according to Ariel Helwani. This is a message relayed to Helwani by Nick Diaz's manager. We haven't seen Nick Diaz since
2015 with Anderson Silva. It's
that
long ago, man.
Wow. 2015? It wasn't 16? You think you're right?
No, it was 2015 with Anderson.
January 31st, 2015. So it's been over 5 years. Over 5 years
Hasn't
since
won
I haven't seen.
2000.
Haven't won since when?
2011.
And that was BJ Penn.
Jesus. We're talking a long time. We're talking long numbers here. But how old is he now? 37 years old? Look, he's looked good in that picture, man. He's looking fine. If he can fight at that weight category, you know, everybody wants to see him fight. Even if he hasn't won since 2011, think about it. If he wants to come back, the UFC, Dana White should do everything they can to get this guy in, not at 2021, in 2020. Get him in now. There's plenty of time to make a card from now till December 31st, and that would be the awesome way to end the year. You know, the UFC started with the pandemic, January 1st. In that month, they started awesome, and let's end it awesome. You know,
Well,
and I think
look,
it would be amazing to see Diaz come back. Who would want to see him, man?
Sure. But again, we haven't seen him since 2015. What upsets me, really, is that he's only 37. That means he left at 32. Imagine how many good years of fighting we missed out on with Nick Diaz because of whatever, Nick Diaz and UFC issues. 5 good years of Nick Diaz. Like, 37, you know, he's towards kind of the end of his fighting life, but he stopped at 32. And he was a big star. Like, that sucks.
You know what, Dave?
Okay? I don't believe it. I honestly do not believe it. Nick Diaz, like the great Nick Diaz would say, Nick Diaz is selling wolf tickets, motherfucker. Wolf tickets. It's not true. Nick Diaz is not coming back to fight. Nick Diaz has been saying this stuff for how long? And you know there's one man he's got to convince, right? The boss, Dana White. Let's hear from Dana right now.
Come on, Dana.
This is Dana asked about Nick Diaz yesterday after the Dana White Contender Series show.
Listen, the Nick Diaz thing, first of all, we would have never released that or done that. You know, we'll see how this thing plays out. I don't have any expectations whatsoever. We'll see what happens.
For now, he's saying that, and you're just having to see how he commits to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers, then. Thank you.
Dana, so there's been no direct discussions between you and Nick Diaz's party?
Yeah, there's been talking, but there's been talking for years.
Dana doesn't sound like he's buying it. I'm with Dana. I'm not buying it either. And if Dana's not buying it, that's really, you know, the most important thing. Okay, Nick Diaz put out a video and his manager called Ariel Helwani. What does that really mean? It's been 5 years since this guy's had a fight. Do you remember the last time Nick Diaz was actually on camera talking to Ariel Helwani? Do you guys remember that interview? He didn't seem good mentally. His brain didn't seem like it was operating at full capacity anymore. Like, he seemed like a different man, right? Like, the years of partying seemed to have got to him. Maybe he was still on the effects of whatever he was doing. But the last time I saw Nick Diaz speaking for any, you know, considerable amount of time, he sounded fucked up. So I'm not buying any of that.
Wasn't there a controversy with some, like, back? Remember there was that whole controversy with some girl and something on Twitter? What was that?
Oh, yeah, when you claimed that he was guilty for some sort of attack, which was totally made up by the woman that was, Remember that? You were saying that he's guilty. And then it came out that she was making it all up. And, he was not guilty whatsoever.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did. Big time.
I'm with you, Dave.
I did say that.
I'm with you, Dave. I believe this is wolf tickets. I don't believe Nick Diaz really wants to come back. I would say, like, in his last couple of years, Nick Diaz gave me the impression of a guy that didn't really like maybe the fighting scene. Like, he's a martial artist. He loves martial arts, but I'm not sure he loved all the circus that comes with the UFC, which is kind of funny because, like I always say about Nick Diaz, you ask him all and he'll talk for like 20 minutes. So, like, he's very, like, personality. He's fun to follow and all that. But he often gave me the impression that he didn't really like that, was just doing it because he had to. And, you know, he sometimes he didn't show up at press conferences, things like that. So, to me, I don't think Nick Diaz really wants to come back. But with that said, he's been out for a while, and who knows? Maybe he wants a payday. And I'll never blame anybody to come back for a payday. Like, let's say Nick Diaz comes back just for one fight and makes a couple of millions. I'll be happy for him, and I'll be entertained.
Yes.
Fred,
Go ahead,
look,
AJ.
I'm going to tell you something. No one trains for a 14. Like, he's been training for the last 14 weeks in full MMA camp. I mean, no one does this kind of stuff if they're just doing it for kicks. You know, he's gotten down to that weight for a reason. And to be honest, you know, I took a look at the Ariel Helwani, like, whole thing, and, like, he said it himself. there's no reason Nick seems to be bullshitting here. If Ariel thinks it's gonna happen, I'm telling you, you know what? Well, you're right, Dave. But I'm telling you one thing: no one's doing a 14-week MMA training camp for just kicks. This guy is serious. And you know what? I checked out like how much money like Nick Diaz has, and like his net worth is around $3 million. The guy has money. There's no doubt. Yeah, I swear I had to go check it out. But you know what? The guy has money, so he doesn't need to do shit. If he doesn't need to come back into MMA and whatnot. But he's training for a reason. I'm telling you, we're gonna see Nick
AJ,
back in the ring before 2021.
You need to
celebrity net
out,
worth.
Yeah, exactly. Like you need to figure out
exactly.
which facts you can really rely on. Yeah, that whole thing
Listen,
was
man,
just like baffling. Take
What?
it easy. Take it easy. First of all, celebrity net worth. You're like for sure Nick Diaz has $3 million
Forbes,
in the bank. Yeah, okay, whatever. So he may have spent that. And when was that from? Is that recent, AJ? You don't even know, right? And then you're also telling me that, well, if Ariel Helwani's tweeting it out, then it must be happening in the UFC. All he tweeted out was that Nick Diaz has a video of him looking like he's in shape and that he wants to, or he's saying through his manager that he wants to fight. That doesn't mean anything to me. That means nothing.
But it's a 14-week training camp, man. Who the hell does a 14-week training camp? Only MMA guys that are gearing up for a fight.
How about this? He's 37. He's starting to get fat because he's been doing nothing
No,
but
he's not
sitting
doing the
on
Jenny
the couch.
Craig diets.
Listen,
I can assure you that.
He started to get fat. He decided to get back into fighting shape just to see if he could and get his body back into good condition. I'm not sure that Nick Diaz is ready to take a fight. He's not sparring. He's not doing any of that stuff. You don't know anything other than Nick Diaz took a picture where he's all wet with his shirt off and he looks like he's in shape. That's all you know from this, okay? It doesn't mean a goddamn thing. And I don't believe that he's going to come back to fight. I don't believe it. I would like to see it. I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm a Nick Diaz fan. I like the guy. He's a great fighter. It disappoints me that he spent his entire prime, a good chunk of his prime, out of the octagon. From 32 to 37, he hasn't fought. It's not good. It's disappointing. But I don't believe he's going to come back and fight now. But if he were to come back and fight now, apparently the welterweight division is where he wants to go. Who does he fight? And will it be Conor McGregor? Here's Conor McGregor tweeting out a picture. There's a picture of the Diaz brothers tweeted by BT Sport. And then there's Conor McGregor tweeting, "Line them up." He wants it.
He wants the money, man.
Should happen.
You blame him?
I mean, Conor calls everybody out on Twitter, so I don't really buy it. Didn't he call out Justin Bieber on Twitter or something? Was that Conor?
I'm not sure about Bieber.
Wasn't that
I'm
Conor?
not sure about Bieber, but
Oh no, Bieber called out Tom
does sound
Cruise. That's what happened. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, that was way back, that whole thing. Yeah. Who would win? I think Tom Cruise would smash Bieber.
It doesn't matter. Go ahead, Fred.
Oh, it does.
if you're Conor McGregor, you want Nick Diaz. I mean, Nick Diaz hasn't fought in 5 years, hasn't won in 9 years. Still a big name. That's a dream matchup for a lot of people. Like, no matter, a lot of people in the UFC should be willing to fight Nick Diaz. Because Diaz is a draw. If anything, he's a draw. If you're a legit MMA fighter, you should welcome a fight with Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz actually might have some power in negotiating here to choose his opponent. Like, Conor McGregor, star, and that would be the biggest matchup. But if Nick Diaz doesn't want to fight McGregor, he's a big enough star to say, nah, I don't want McGregor, I want my own matchup or whatever. You guys are going to laugh, but I said it last time. I think a smart matchup for him would be Diego Sanchez. I think there's some history there. Diego beat him once. That would be a matchup where Nick Diaz could win, I think. Conor McGregor is a tough matchup for Nick Diaz, since he hasn't fought it in 5 years. I would go more for a Diego Sanchez to make my comeback. Dominate Diego Sanchez for a couple of rounds, and then call out McGregor.
That would be pretty good, man. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that, seeing Diego Sanchez against Nick Diaz one more time. I think that would be cool. I think Nick Diaz for sure has a certain amount of respect for Diego Sanchez, being around the game for so long, being a real fighter who always brings it. I think that's a good fight. Nick Diaz, Diego
I don't care
Sanchez.
who wins.
I think Nick Diaz,
I
Jorge
just want to see the
Masvidal.
post-interview.
Nick Diaz, Jorge Masvidal works as well. I think honestly, if I were the UFC, I would put Nate Diaz against Conor, do the trilogy fight, put Nick and Masvidal on, maybe not the same night, but maybe the next month or something, and then have Masvidal go ahead and fight Nick or Nate after, and then have Conor go fight Nick.
Nick.
Do the switch around. Like have Nate and Conor, have Nick and Masvidal, and then switch. Then Masvidal gets to go fight the other Diaz brother, and Conor gets to go fight the other one. And then at the end of it,
That'd be cool.
Conor and Masvidal fight each other. And Nick and Nate, they'll be way out of the UFC by then. I mean, they'll 2 fights, make all that money, they're going to be retired by that point, right? So then you have Conor and Masvidal fight for the BMF title once and for all. You just create a BMF division. It's the Diaz brothers, Conor and Masvidal. It's a BMF division, that's it. You don't have to deal with any other
That's a good
fighters.
one, man.
You're just fighting for the BMF title. It's like a mini tournament thing. But the Diaz brothers, of course, never have to fight each other because that's stupid. They wouldn't do that. It's dumb. But,
You know what? That would work, man. That would work, man.
Nick and Masvidal. I would put Nick up against Masvidal right now and then have Nate and Conor and then switch. Flip-flop.
You know what, Dave?
We'll
I
swap
tell you,
around.
that would actually work for the BMF. That could be interesting, man. And that would
I'm good at this shit, man. I'm a
That would
genius.
make- So wasn't Dana? Well, actually, Dana does listen to you every once in a while.
He should
Because some
pay
of the
more
shit that you
attention.
said he's actually made.
He should pay way more
Yeah.
attention.
You know what? You're right, but that makes sense, man. That makes sense.
You know what the UFC is
Which
doing
one?
that makes sense? You know what I like that
What-
the
what?
UFC is doing? They're trying to put together...
Contender series.
No, I don't... What? Contender series? No.
So exciting.
Ugh. I'm not watching that. Who has time for that? Contender series. Nonsense.
So good, man. There's so much action. I love it.
So much action. So Dustin Poirier and Tony Ferguson as a backup for Khabib and Gaethje. I think that is great. I love that matchmaking by the UFC. I think that's very smart. So Dustin Poirier is supposed to fight Tony Ferguson at UFC 254 in October. Poirier tells ESPN, this is a direct quote from Dustin Poirier. He says, "I'm in. I just need to be compensated if they want this fight. Simple as that. I'm a prize fighter, and the prize needs to be right." So he's not happy with the money that they're offering for the Ferguson fight. So they need to figure that out. But I like that Poirier is going to fight Tony Ferguson in the co-main event of Khabib Justin Gaethje. And the UFC's plan is if Poirier or if Khabib can't make the fight, then Poirier would replace and fight Justin Gaethje. But if Justin Gaethje can't make the fight, then Tony Ferguson would replace, and Ferguson would then fight Khabib, which is kind of like a fight we all wanted to see anyways, right? So I like that. I like that move. But they just have to pay Dustin Poirier, right? Fred?
I
What
hope
do you
the
think?
fight with Tony gets made. That's a great matchup. But if you're Dustin Poirier at the same time, like this is a matchup that you should get paid for. Like you shouldn't be doing this for peanuts. Like this is fighters don't have that many opportunities for big paydays, and Dustin right now his name is getting bigger and bigger. Make sure you're getting your worth.
That's it. Don't take this fight with Tony Ferguson without getting properly paid. At the same time, I really hope he takes this fight because that's a fight I want to see. But it's a dangerous fight for Dustin Poirier, right? Like, it's not easy. You're fighting Tony Ferguson here.
Dangerous
and
for both.
Yeah, it's dangerous for both guys, but it's high risk, man, for Dustin Poirier. And if he feels that the pay isn't right, well, figure it out. But the UFC should really just be hooking him up with whatever they need to hook him up with to get this fight going. That's a really good fight right there. Poirier and Ferguson, and then you have Khabib and Gaethje in the main event. UFC 254 is going to be good. We're going to watch that. We're going to do a watch-along in the afternoon here, guys.
For sure, man.
Our next
Let's hope we can all
watch-along...
get together in studio.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Our next watch-along, although doubtful at this point still. Our next watch-along will be September 26th, UFC 253, Israel Adesanya, Paulo Costa. That'll be a normal time, 10 p.m. start time. Those fights are going to be on Fight Island, by the way. They're going back to Abu Dhabi for that one. Did you know that? Not in Vegas.
Actually,
They got a stretch
We
of
have
events
Charles Air
in
Jourdain
Abu
that's
Dhabi,
there.
I see.
Yeah, they have a lot of. They're
Charles
going to be
Air
doing.
Jourdain.
Yeah, they're going to be doing a bunch of shows in Abu Dhabi. What's that, AJ? You keep trying to like butt in. What are you saying?
No, I was trying to say is I thought Charles Air Jourdain is going back to Abu Dhabi to fight, and I think is it September as well?
I don't know, man. You tell me. I didn't hear that.
September 26th or
See-
October, somewhere around there.
I don't know. You come in, you bring facts, but they're not quite fully completed
Hitting
facts.
Changing, man. I
Josh
think
Kulibao.
What?
what?
He's fighting Josh
Japanese
Kulibao.
When?
Well, I
Oh
don't-
yeah, Josh
on
Kulibao.
the
Yeah. When is it?
Oh yeah.
When?
Who the hell is Josh Kulibao, AJ?
When is it?
I love how you say
I don't know.
on October 4th.
4th.
Oh, 4th. Okay, I was close.
On a Sunday?
It's in Abu Dhabi, so it might be a time difference.
Oh, it's probably actually October 3rd. October 4th in
Yeah,
Abu
well-
Dhabi, October 3rd here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's on my birthday, guys.
And
Great.
well,
About
whose birthday's coming up? Freddie's.
Freddie's, yours,
Everybody's.
everybody's.
Man,
Our-
we, yeah,
our
too bad we
birthdays-
can't celebrate.
Our birthdays are all within like a, 2-week span? We figured it out last week, Fred. We did the
11
math.
days.
11 days.
This
Yeah.
year,
11 days.
this sucks for the Ringside Report team. We didn't do our picnic. We didn't do Jack Squat. We haven't been in studio. It's like I haven't shot my. And I still got to get him back from like getting soaked by his water gun. I mean, like this year sucked for our team, but we still managed to be the only guys out there doing the shows above everybody else. Think about it. When everybody else was struggling, TSN, ESPN, and all the rest of those guys, Ringside Report was.
Yeah, that's it.
reporting news.
We never ever stopped. We never stopped during the whole pandemic. We never took a break. We're always here each and every week talking MMA. With that said, I don't think we'll be here next week.
What?
Why?
I told you I'm going
I
on
think
a
you
little
mentioned something.
vacation. Taking a little vacation.
Oh, yeah,
Actually-
true.
So we're gonna do
Well, you know
one
what?
But I-
one week off. I get one night off for vacation. Okay, guys? One night.
Listen,
I'm taking October off.
So
Yeah, that's all right. What do you say, AJ?
I'm in Quebec City the 19th of September. I'll tell you guys later. But I'm here on the show. It's 17th. Where are we today? We're the 10th. No, so next week I'm going to be in Quebec City, man.
Well, that's okay. We don't have a show next week.
That's what I'm saying. It works out perfect.
Yeah, it works out then. All right, AJ. I want to give a shout out to everybody watching us right now live. Everybody on the chat. I see Woods MMA UK is out there. Acme Tunes, Dwayne, D Skeet, Mad Dog Vachon. Acme Tunes says, I thought Connor retired. Joking around there. Of course, Connor did not retire. Connor will be back. I also want to make sure that I mention to support us on the Super Chat and also support our sponsors. Give a big shout out to Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code Ringside20 to get 20% off your order plus free shipping. You got to Manscaped. You got to keep yourself nice and trim and tidy, right? You got to use that Lawnmower 3.0 with that nick-proof technology. You're not going to get nicked. You're not going to get
Oof,
cut.
That hurts.
Nothing's going to happen,
That
right?
hurts, man.
You could go to all the hard-to-reach areas, all the little nooks and crannies of your ball sack and so on, and you can shave everything all the way down with the Lawnmower 3.0 and have absolutely no fear that you're going to get hurt in any kind of way and that you could be nice and clean and tidy. Manscaped. Manscaped.com, promo code Ringside20 to get 20% off your order plus free shipping. Go there right now and hook yourself up. I mean, it's very
nicked.
simple. Yeah, don't get nicked. Get the
Don't get
lawnmower.
Nick Diaz.
Get the Lawnmower 3.0. Get some nice ball deodorant so your balls smell nice and fresh.
Very
Manscaped.com.
important.
Promo code Ringside20. You get 20% off your order plus free shipping. All right? You know what I'm saying?
Have you ever got nicked?
No.
Have you ever got nicked? Let
No,
me tell
because
you,
I
man.
use
I've
Manscaped.
been nicked. I
Oh.
know, but I didn't use Manscaped back in the early 90s. And let
Early
me tell you,
70s.
man, I'm going to
Manscaped didn't exist.
It's embarrassing.
You know what's funny?
It didn't exist, Manscaped.
You know
But it's
what's funny,
embarrassing when you
AJ?
got to go to the emergency.
You talk about emergency room. Early 90s, you had a
Uh,
Manscaped
yeah.
emergency?
I had two.
I'm not sure I want to know.
One was from one is from getting nicked, and the other one's from jiu-jitsu. And I can't I wasn't able to get my belt 1 year because, yeah, it's a long story. But
Your balls?
jiu-jitsu is a painful game.
Okay.
It's a long story. I'll tell you.
You know what's really funny, AJ,
What?
is that you're talking about manscaping in the early 90s. I couldn't manscape in the early 90s because I was like 6. I had no ball hair to shave in the early 90s, my friend. Oh, shit.
I'll tell you, man.
What kind
Just
of
think
show
about
is
that.
this?
You were 6.
Yeah.
It's a you know what? It's not all of the rest of the crap that you're subjected to watch on like the big name networks.
Yeah, believe me.
Why listen to them when you can listen to us? Screw them.
I have no idea why you would. I hear a lot of this stuff. I see a lot of this stuff, and I'm like, ugh, who wants this in their
You know
life?
what?
This is awful. These people are not interesting. They have nothing to say. They're very boring. Their jokes aren't funny. It's like, ugh. But that's like most of entertainment, right? Like most of the things you see on TV or radio or whatever is just like, ugh, this guy is fucking awful. He's really annoying. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm hard to please. But like most of the shit I see on TV, I'm kind of like, oh, man, this sucks. Ringside Report is the best.
Listen, you know what? It definitely is. Ringside Report, man, rocks. We got all kinds of like crazy stuff that happens. But talk about television. You know what I've been watching lately, which has been like the best thing on television, which brings you back to the early 80s, is Cobra Kai. I'm telling you, I don't know if you guys have been watching it, but I'm like hooked on this Cobra Kai stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm all Johnny, man. I'm like, you know what? I'm rooting for Johnny now. I kick the Karate Kid's ass. I'm like so like I want to see the crane go down. I want to see that crane kick go like. I want to break his legs, and I'm telling you, man, it's such a good show, man. But it makes you realize how old you are. Dave, were you around when? Which was what, Fred? 1986? What was that movie?
Dave might not have been born when Karate Kid came out. Seriously.
Dave was just a thought. Papa Simon, man.
No, I never saw Karate
Didn't hold
Kid.
back that time. With Dave.
I never saw Karate Kid. I don't know.
What's the matter with you, Dave? You never saw. I'm telling you that you've never seen Star Wars. You've never seen Jaws. You've never seen Rocky. You've never seen Karate Kid. Are you joking?
I've seen Rocky.
Who has? You sure? Not Rocky 7 there. Rocky 1.
Well, I think
all of them.
I don't know if I saw Rocky 1. I definitely saw Rocky 3 because Hulk Hogan was in that, brother.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, I never saw Karate Kid. I've got no.
Kid is amazing.
No. You see, last couple of weeks I was talking about The Wire, and some people like think season 2. I think you also, Dave, said like season 2. I don't know.
No, I liked it.
Season 2 was great, man.
Yeah.
Season 2, like it's a bridge for season 1 to 3. You know, you got the Greek who's coming back later on. Season 2 had an incredible scene. To me, that's worth the season by itself. Stringer Bell, he's out. Season 2 is great, man.
Season 2 was fantastic. It's just like I remember watching it at the time, being like, "This is like a totally different show than it was last season. What's going on here?" It's like all new characters. It was like it threw you off, you know. But season 3, I think, is my favorite.
Ziggy's a classic.
Yeah, Ziggy's good. Season 2 is really good. I love Vondis. I love the Greek. You know, I love the scene at the end where it's like, my name is not my name. They only know me as the Greek.
He's not even Greek.
And I'm not even Greek. Like, that's the best. That is the best. They have these passports, and that music is playing, and the madam is there, and they're like, da 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 da. They have that music going, you know? My God. That's great. What did he have a face? Yes? Then it wasn't us. That's badass, Sergey. Yo, they take the guy's face off. Oh my God. Yo, The Wire was very good, man. The season 2 was badass. Like those Eastern European guys were like seriously, they were mean, man. I like that. Spiros was
Best
good,
show
man.
ever.
Yeah, that was fucking good, man. Marlo comes in what, season
Don't
3?
mess with the Greeks, man.
Season 3.
Yeah. See, I think season 3 is my favorite. When Marlo comes in, it's like, oh shit, the game changes, in a major way. And Stringer and Avon, like they have their kind of reckoning, like season 3 is when Stringer gets it, right? Stringer gets it in season 3.
Yeah, and those scenes, at the end, and those scenes between Stringer and Avon, like they're great, man, because you feel Avon, he's torn, but hey, he knows to do what he has to do. No spoiler.
Hold on a second. I think I could switch things. Whoa.
What?
Oh, I didn't know I could do that.
Whoa.
I got different.
What is that?
So now, this is when Dave's ego's at his biggest. He's like, it's my show.
I'm massive now. I'm huge. I don't know. I was told to switch. I don't know why. The producer texted me. He said switch to check, and now I did. So now I'm gonna go. I like the other one. What do you guys think? This one or this one? This one I like.
Since AJ doesn't, the other one. AJ doesn't know how to do landscape, so I think we should stick to the first one.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I could do landscape. You want me to turn it now? You want me to turn it?
I don't know. It might screw you up on the other
scared.
one.
I'll do it. I'm gonna do it.
This one cuts my head off though. Like a part of my head is gone now.
Here we go, Dave. Don't do anything. How's that?
Yeah, that's all right. But I don't like the way I look on it because my head is like cut off. You see?
What are you talking about?
Look,
the ego is still above that. Don't worry.
Yeah, but you don't see like the top of my head. I look like I have half.
Why are you thinking of Johnny North?
Well, it was like a promo.
Where's Johnny North?
Yeah, it's a banner. It's telling you to do things. My God, we should talk about MMA, shouldn't we? I went into a commercial. We got Manscaped, and then The Wire happened. I've been watching, just to tell you guys what I've been watching. AJ's gone now. This documentary on Netflix. It's called High Score. It's about like the invention of video games. The kind of it's like a documentary series. Yeah, a little bit about Pong, a lot about Pac-Man in the beginning. Super Mario.
I was good at Pac-Man.
The Nintendo Entertainment System. And then onto Sega, the creation of Sega Genesis, and how they came up with Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's actually pretty cool how they came up with Nintendo Power Magazine. A lot of stuff from my youth. So if you were kind of, growing up in the late 80s, early 90s type of thing, you definitely enjoy this. It's a series on Netflix called High Score. About, they talk about, they show how, the creation of Madden football, the Madden football games, and like how they pitched it to John Madden and how they got Madden involved. And did you know Street Fighter? Like they talk about the game Street Fighter. Street Fighter 1 was just Ken and Ryu, but then Street Fighter 2 was where they had like 8 players. They had more people in it. And oh no, was it Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat?
Mortal Kombat.
No, Mortal Kombat. Yeah, Mortal Kombat. Johnny Cage.
Yes, in Mortal Kombat
was supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like Mortal Kombat was kind of based off Bloodsport. And the creators of Mortal Kombat to Jean-Claude Van Damme to be like the lead guy in Mortal Kombat and be like in the game, like Jean-Claude Van Damme presents Mortal Kombat, but he turned it down. He could have been like the Mortal Kombat guy, but he turned it down. Like bad move, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Went on to be one of the biggest games of all time.
But John, whatever. If he's not in the television show, he's like doing some kind of skit. He's always out there, man. JVC.
I think Van Damme's doing okay.
I don't know, man.
Oh, JCV.
If you had the chance to be, if you had the chance to be in Mortal Kombat, wouldn't you want to do it? I'd want to be in Mortal Kombat. It's pretty cool.
Isn't he Guile? He's Guile in Street Fighter, the movie.
Well, in a movie, whatever. It's probably how he got back in Mortal Kombat. Anyways, it's a good documentary series. I like it. I'm seeing Acme Tunes is on the chat. He's watching it too. Acme Tunes likes Cobra Kai and High Score. This guy's watching everything on Netflix. He's watching the show AJ's watching. He's watching the show I'm watching. He's seen it all.
You know what, Acme? At least he's a man of of now. He's watching everything. And to be honest, Cobra Kai, I didn't realize it was going to be that good. I was going to be like, man, this is going to suck. These guys are like 30 years later. They're going to be fat and stupid. But, man, it gets really interesting, man. It's really you know what? I can't wait. I have to see like episode 4 now, and I'm like, that's where I am. So Acme, I don't know where you are, but episode 4 is where I'm getting to, and let me tell you, I just can't wait. I'm totally Cobra Kai. I want to join their team. Hit fast.
All right. I don't know. I never
Strike first.
I never watched that stuff, so I'm not really into it.
Come
I
on,
don't
man.
think
You
I
gotta
don't
get
think
your.
I'll watch
Listen,
it.
No. I think it's important for your
No.
little guy. I think it's very important for your little guy to watch The Karate Kid.
Really?
That's a must.
I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
so.
I'm gonna make my kid watch it for sure. 100%.
Well,
Just watch the
you do
end.
that.
With the music montage. That's the best part. You're the best
No, I want to see Miyagi. Man.
around.
Oh yeah.
Keep going, Fred. I love when you sing. I love when you sing on the show. It's
Never
the best.
gonna let you down. You're the best around. Never gonna let you
Never
down.
gonna let
So
you
yeah,
down.
go.
Awesome.
With the whole montage.
Whoa. Okay.
Are we back? What's happening there?
Khamzat. Let's talk about Khamzat, okay, guys? Khamzat.
Who?
Khamzat Chimaev.
What? Hamas?
You know your guy, your main guy, Khamzat.
Yeah.
He's been fighting a bunch for
He's
the
fighting
UFC.
twice.
He's like the new hot guy of the moment. Everybody's very excited about Khamzat, right? Khamzat Chimaev. You know what I'm talking about?
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're
He's
talking
awesome.
about.
So,
Weren't you dissing him a couple of weeks back?
yes, of course I was. Because he was talking all that stuff about going to where was he going? To Ireland.
He was
to
going
find
to
Conor.
Ireland to go to fight Conor, and he got arrested.
He's
and
talking
all
all
that,
that
kind of
shit.
stuff, right?
He's talking all that shit. He's had 2 fights in the UFC, right? So this guy is like, trying to be the big star in the UFC, trying to be the next whatever in the UFC, and the UFC is going along with the program, all right? And they're trying to get this guy some fights. So Khamzat is going to be fighting Gerald Meerschaert on September 19th for the UFC in Vegas, and that fight will take place at 185 pounds. And then the UFC is planning for Khamzat to fight Damian Maia at 170 pounds in October. So this is not something that ordinarily happens, where the UFC will give you a fight for 1 month and then book you the fight for the next month, assuming that you'll be all right, assuming that you'll win or that you'll survive, and then you fight the next month. But this is what Khamzat wants. He wants all the big fights. He wants to fight Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz. He wants everything, right? What do you guys think? Is Gerald Meerschaert getting disrespected? I mean, he is, right? And is this a wise move to be fighting this often? Like, should you really fight Damian Maia 4 weeks after and cut weight to 170 pounds? Like, he's fighting at 185 in September, and then a month later, he's supposed to fight at 170 against Damian Maia. I mean, he's good, but is he this good? Can he do this?
I think he can, but I don't know with this weight cut and whatnot. I mean, that's a lot of weight to cut in 4 weeks, pretty much, because he's going from a training camp to fight one particular fighter with one particular style at a different weight class, and then literally a month, 4 weeks later, he's going to be fighting Damian Maia, who fights a completely different style, who has to be prepared for that weight class. I mean, that's a lot to take. But if he can pull this off, man, there's going to be a lot of respect given to this guy. And that's the thing. And Dana White really has a lot of he really likes this guy. He thinks he's gonna have a bright future. He thinks he's gonna be a future champ. But if he could pull this off in 1 month, Dave, I know you talked shit about him a couple of weeks back, but this guy, man, is the real deal. I think this guy is gonna be a big name in the game.
You think he can beat Damian Maia? You think he can beat Damian Maia?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
I want to.
Yeah, Fred.
I'd like to read a Chael Sonnen quote, okay? Chael Sonnen once said, "You stick a microphone in the guy's face and he calls out anybody but the champion, and Joe Silva should fax them a pink slip." I always love that quote of Chael, where if somebody's going to put a mic in front of your face, make it worth it. Okay, he doesn't only call out the champion, but he's calling big names. This guy wants to be known, and I respect that. That's how MMA is these days, man. That's how Conor McGregor became a star and all that. It's by trash talking. So if anything,
Fred.
I'm going to respect the guy's aspirations.
I don't know. Maybe I missed it, but I heard Khamzat call out Conor McGregor. I heard him call out Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz.
All big names.
Yeah, but
All
I
big
haven't
names,
heard.
that's what
I
I'm
haven't
saying.
heard this motherfucker call out the champion yet. I haven't heard Kamaru
And that's
Usman
what I said
come out
at
of
the
his mouth.
beginning.
Yeah, so what? I'm not impressed.
When
is
I-
what I'm saying. Call out the
When
champion.
I read Chael's quote, I said, call out the champion or call out somebody that's worth it. These guys that are calling out like the number 10 or whatever, who cares? Like, this guy, he's calling out big names. He wants his name out there. Now he needs to back it up. That's the second part of the equation. Can he back it up? We'll see, man. He only has 2 fights in the UFC. It's too early to say if he's actually top level.
Too early. Here's Dana White talking about him.
It's fascinating. Never really had anybody that's doing anything like he is right now. So I could see why you would say, don't you think this is disrespectful booking a fight for him when he's got a fight? But that's how you have to do it. It's interesting. I like it, and I've never had a guy like this, so it's fun. I'll play this game with him. I after what I saw in his first 2 fights, fought real guys, man. He didn't fight chumps. This isn't a guy that's blew through a couple of setup fights. He beat real people, man, and I'm going to see how it plays out.
Did he beat real people?
Look, no, he fought John Phillips, and he pretty much destroyed him in a minute. Then he fought Reyes McGee about 10 days later, and he destroyed him. I mean, these guys are not like big names that most people will know. I mean, they're
John
not even
Phillips,
big names to us.
John Phillips is 22-10. And he's...
Yeah, and he beat him in a minute.
And he's 1-4 in the UFC. He's a UFC jobber. 1 win, 4 losses in the UFC, John Phillips, okay? That's who Khamzat has beat. Rice McKee, 10-3 as a pro. Only 1 fight in the UFC, and it was to Khamzat, and he lost. So Dana White saying, oh, he fought real guys. He's a real guy. Not really. He hasn't. Now, not to say that he's not legit, not to say that he won't be good. He's definitely a prospect with some possibilities. He's got upside, but Dana trying to sell you on, well, this guy's for real and he fought real guys. No, he fucking didn't. He didn't fight real guys.
Well, look.
He didn't fight anybody
wait,
at the quality of a Damian Maia. So for you to say, oh, yeah, for sure, he can beat Damian Maia, I'm questioning this. I'm like, yeah, this seems a little bit much, a little bit soon. Like, for a prospect, I don't know if this is the right way you want to bring him up. Throw him at 185 pounds again, Mearshard, and then a month later, make him drop to 170 and fight Damian Maia. It seems a bit much, and hey, if I could bet on Damian Maia now, I would. That's all I'm telling you, is that it seems a little bit, I don't know. Seems a little shaky.
No, for sure, and I agree with you. I mean, they're not big names, the 2 guys he's beat, but he beat 2 guys that are fighting in the UFC within 10 days. I mean, you don't even have enough time to train for your next opponent, and he came in and he just fought raw, and he fought. Man, those 2 fights were enough to be on highlight reels still today. I mean, this guy is amazing. The thing is that he's going to be fighting again 2 times in about 4 weeks. So you got to give it to this guy. If this guy's able to pull it off and then beat Damian Maia, man, it's time to start looking at this guy really seriously. But if you look at his first 2 fights that he fought, man, he looked dangerous.
Sure.
He looked dangerous.
I'll look at it 1 fight at a time. If he beats Mearshard, and from there, I'll look at Maia. I'm just applauding the guy for having personality. Like, this is how you get your name out there, is by being a little bit crazy. People, if you're dull and boring, always repeating the same answer that nobody cares about, nobody's gonna know you. This guy's crazy. Right now, he needs to. I'm down for the crazies. Like, I want more of them.
Yeah,
Look, Brent,
I
this
would
guy
like
apparently,
more.
if it's,
Yeah, more crazy is fun.
I was gonna say, if it's true, if the rumors were true back in the, like, when was it, like last year or 2 years ago, if this guy really did fly to Ireland to fight Conor, and that whole thing about him getting arrested, like it or not, this guy probably did that, and maybe something really did happen. But Fred is right. To be a fighter in the UFC, you gotta not only have talent, but you gotta have some kind of shtick, and that's what sells. It sells in the WWE. and it's selling in the UFC, and we've seen that over and over again. You have to
Sure.
either be a good guy or a bad guy, man. Darth Vader, or do you want to be Yoda? Either or, they're both gonna sell. Dave doesn't know that. He doesn't watch Star Wars.
No, I haven't seen Star Wars. We're going to bring in our man, Matt Casavant. I think we have him here. Oh, no.
Where
He's
is
not
he?
there. I don't know. I thought he was supposed to be
Matt,
there.
what happened?
Oh, where's Matt? Oh, there he is.
Where is he?
There he is. All right, we got our man, Matt Casavant.
Hey,
We're gonna bring Matt on in 1 second. We got some boxing to talk about. But just before we do, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at IP Vanish. See? I made them vanish and disappear. Go to vpn.ringsidereport.net right now to sign up for IP Vanish. You need to secure yourself on the internet. Don't get hacked. Are you using public Wi-Fi on your cell phone, on your laptop, on your tablet? You need IP Vanish. You need a secure VPN, and IP Vanish is the one that we use and the one that we recommend. Go to vpn.ringsidereport.net. They are a proud sponsor of the Ringside Report Network. Sign up right now. Protect yourself at all times. And don't see that little thing that says, this video is not available in your area. This uploader has not made this video available in your country or whatever. You see that thing? No more with IP Vanish. vpn.ringsidereport.net. IP Vanish. Sign up today. And now, back to the show. We're going to talk a little boxing with our boxing insider, Matt Casavant. Hey, what's up, Matt? How you doing, man?
Can you guys hear me? I forgot the earphones today. My night's going as good as Canelo's contract with DAZN.
No, you sounded good. We hear you.
Right.
We see you.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
I saw this news drop this week. Canelo Alvarez is suing DAZN. So he signed a multi-$100 million deal. It was like in the $300 million range, right? With DAZN
Yep.
for several years. This insane contract. And at the time, I thought, who are they going to get him to fight to pay that off? Because outside of Triple H, I don't really know who is going to be up next for Canelo Alvarez. And a lot of people kind of wondering, and DAZN was wondering as well, and they don't seem too happy with the choice of opponents for Canelo. DAZN wanted some crazy opponents like Khabib Nurmagomedov or Jorge Masvidal. It's kind of wild what DAZN wanted because, I don't think they realize that they're under UFC contract and those fights are highly unlikely and almost impossible. Very strange things going on with DAZN. So Matt's going to try and make some sense out of this nonsense. Canelo Alvarez suing DAZN, Golden Boy Promotions, and the head of Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya, for breach of contract. He's seeking $280 million through this lawsuit. So, Matt, what's the deal with Canelo and DAZN? Why can't we get Canelo into the ring?
There's so much to go with, Dave, like in terms of what you discussed. I think right now the biggest issue is that DAZN wanted to make a big splash in the market. They're trying to be a bigger entity now with the networks and trying to get everything streaming. Of course, they have some deals here in North America with the NFL and stuff, but boxing, they really thought with Canelo, it would drive subscribers. And why you're seeing, these fights being rumored, which you just mentioned, these crazy fights of Masvidal and Khabib, or even De La Hoya, his own promoter, as being acceptable bouts for DAZN, is DAZN is trying to make a splash. And clearly there was miscommunication from the get-go. If they thought that the $35 million per fight, which Canelo agreed to and was the contract, was going to happen only for what they were describing as premier opponents, and premier opponents is a vague term, and thinking it was going to apply to anybody other than Golovkin, who's really right now the only big-name casual sports fan in fight for Canelo that's realistic. Where he never had a all Golden Boy who was going in between Canelo and DAZN, responsible for misleading DAZN and not having the relationship with Canelo the way it should. And DAZN is also responsible for being kind of naive, thinking that they were going to be able to then tell Canelo, we'll give you $35 million, but only for the opponents we approve, when Canelo, he already made over $100 million in his career, is in a position where he can pick and choose who he wants to fight. So I think there's a bit of buyer's remorse from DAZN big time, and this situation is going to get ugly. It's been a bad year for boxing. because of the big fights not happening with all the pandemic situation. And Canelo now is going to be in trouble for a while here with this situation because I don't think it's going to get resolved anytime soon.
Does the pandemic factor into this? Like, does DAZN figure
100%.
do they do they get ticket sales as well? Like, is that how it works?
No.
They have everything. So why would the pandemic?
No, and that's one of the reasons why Golden Boy was saying, listen, we're going to wait till fight fans are allowed in for big-time Canelo fights because they're going to be much more interested with the gate money we can generate having Canelo fight in front of fans. DAZN is saying, we're a streaming service. Our responsibility is putting fights on networks or on the air. We don't care about the fan base. That's not our issue. So Golden Boy was waiting. DAZN wasn't happy with that. And prior to the pandemic happening, Canelo had a deal to fight Billy Joe Saunders, which was a credible opponent. Super middleweight guy. He defeated David Lemieux here a few years ago, almost by a unanimous shutout decision. And that fight was going to lead then to Golovkin had a mandatory obligation on his end, and they agreed that they were going to fight a third time by September of this year. The pandemic hit. Canelo and Saunders fight fell through. And now Canelo just wants to get into the ring. He's looking to fight guys who are lesser names, especially the DAZN. So DAZN says, listen, we'll give you 10 million, maybe 5 million, but we're not giving you the 35 million we agreed upon. So Canelo's saying, that's a breach of contract. I'm suing you guys. His relationship with De La Hoya wasn't good to begin with the last few years. This just puts more problems in. And really right now, I think it's disappointing. But really DAZN, to me, David Fall, this is why the UFC does it so well, where Dana knows that he has to have control and it has to work because it's one man telling you this is going to be. Because boxing, for all of the potential of the money it can generate when we see guys like Mayweather make over 100 million for a single event. And that's why the networks get so interested. There's always a new network, a new entity who's willing to put money and wants to push boxing. But unfortunately, boxing is a toxic relationship. Like, you're going to have issues dealing with these fighters thinking it's the same as dealing with MLB or NBA. It just isn't. And I think DAZN is learning that the hard way now.
Wow. It's rough. So it doesn't look like this is going to get settled anytime soon. So none of us are lawyers here, but, if you had to kind of game it and figure out, how this all ends, we've seen things like this kind of go on with fighters suing promoters. How does this shake out? How, is Canelo going to be able to get out of this contract? Will DAZN just get him to fight whoever at a certain point because they'll just be waiting for so long? Like, how do you figure this ends?
Yeah, well, interesting. DAZN, one of the main guys at first who was in the middle of the talks was a man by the name of John Skipper, who was the former head at ESPN. He's still with DAZN, but he's taking a backseat out of this. And I think what's going to happen is DAZN logically is probably going to sit down and say, listen, is it really worth the trouble? Because now they have other conflicts because of this Canelo situation. A guy like Golovkin signed a deal with DAZN and stipulated in his contract it was to fight Canelo. So if DAZN can't honor Golovkin's contract, they have Canelo now. They might as well just say at one point, you know what? It's not worth the trouble. We're never going to be able to make back our money anyways in subscribers in this era right now with people, especially with having less, discretionary income with everything that's going on. I think it's going to end one way, that Canelo gets what he wants. I don't think the money he wants for damages. I think that's not really realistic. But I think what is realistic is him getting out of the DAZN deal and moving on to fight probably for PBC or even on his own on a pay-per-view level, because ultimately DAZN, I think, is in a bad shape here. I think Canelo has a lot of good points to get out of the DAZN contract. DAZN might at one point say, really, is it worth that much trouble even for these fights? Like, I think it's one way or the other. It might take some time, but Canelo is probably going to move on and fight next year under a different promotional company. And I think it could be the end of DAZN's boxing investment, at least when it comes to North American fighters. They may stick around with European guys that Eddie Hearn has with Matchroom in London. But I think DAZN must be saying, listen, we tried this experiment, but it didn't do anything good for us because they haven't made their money. They gave a lot of money for Canelo fights against Danny Jacobs, which they didn't get the subscribers they wanted. They're not getting any boxing fans around the platform because they have no shows going on. So I think it's mostly going to probably end with Canelo leaving DAZN. I just don't think it's going to be with the amount of money he wants for damages.
Yeah, I always thought that they overpaid for Canelo. Sorry, AJ. I thought that they overpaid for him. It's what, $20 to subscribe to DAZN? You're paying Canelo $35 million a fight. It seems like they were giving him too much, and it was never gonna pay out in the end. When you're charging, $100 a pay-per-view, $80 a pay-per-view, yeah, you can recoup your money that you're paying a guy like Canelo Alvarez, but you're only charging $20 for your subscription, and that's a subscription to your entire network and your entire library of everything that you have. I was like, yeah, I don't know how they're gonna make this money back, and obviously, I was right, because they tried to get him to accept half of $35 million to fight somebody else, because according to this lawsuit that was filed, right, Dan Rafael, he put out this information that came out in the lawsuit that, the DAZN was looking for some premium opponents, as they called them, for Canelo, right? They wanted him to fight a guy like Jorge Masvidal or
it just goes to show that they weren't really
Oscar De La Hoya, it was like ridiculous.
Yeah, it goes to show that I don't think a lot of them were like investment guys saying, listen, we can make a splash. We look at all the, the attention these big fights like Mayweather McGregor generated, and we can get that here maybe with Canelo, but it's not boxing moves that offer even the Masvidal or De La Hoya fights. Just proves that what they qualify as premier opponent is not what the diehard boxing fans want to see anyways. So I think they had an investment. They were optimistic. And Golden Boy is a smooth talker. Now, he got them to pony up the deal and made a lot of promises to the zone that he knew Canelo was never going to fulfill. So I think De La Hoya deserves some big-time blame. Again, with having in the past with Richard Schaefer, whether it's Al Heyman, whether it's Dana White, Hoya is a character who's been a great fighter, has done a lot of good things, but he's not the top, organized professional guy when it comes to promotional entities and negotiating these type of deals. So I think the zone got a bit of, fooled by Golden Boy, empty promises. And right now what you're seeing is that the situation is not good for boxing. It's not good for the zone. And I think it's just been a disappointing, and it just leaves credence to the arguments always of the best never fight the best in boxing. It's always a lot of in-house fighting. And I think this year has put that on the pedestal for sure.
AJ?
And that's what I was going to say actually, Matt, like when you look at the zone and you look at Canelo's first two fights, I mean, the guy pocketed like close to $50 million. This is like some serious money. And you know what? And this is like, it's amazing that they're getting that type of money, because the UFC doesn't even come close to anything in that range. And it's bad because, when you have that amount of money being thrown around, it's almost killing boxing in a sense, because you're not seeing all the rest of these fighters in all divisions and whatnot getting groomed and being brought up like the UFC does. And that's the biggest thing, because all I want to see now is I want to see Canelo fight Triple G again. And that's all I want,
right.
But how about all the rest of the guys? And that's the thing, that with all this money that they're making for themselves for these big names, in the end, it's destroying all the rest of the boxing athletes that are not getting paid anywhere close to that. If they're lucky, they're making a couple of $1,000s for a fight, wherever circuit that they're in, and no one gets to know them. So if boxing doesn't start like becoming more mainstream and really recognizing other guys than Canelo and Triple G, where's boxing going to go? I mean, this is some serious money.
Yeah.
And like the UFC's platform is actually working.
No, 100%, AJ. Well, listen, I think right now, the one thing you have to, the optimistic view I have of the short-term future is the deal ESPN has with Top Rank. Top Rank is very professional in the way they approach it. Now, when they came back with the bubble fights compared to MMA and UFC, it's been mismatches. It's been very unknown fighters just taking fights. And that also, you could argue, hurts the sport and exposure for if you're trying to draw casual fans and say this is the quality of the product, they might not tune back. But what we're seeing in the fall lineup, especially that Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez fight in October on the ESPN regular channel, so probably TSN here in Canada, you're going to get exposure to big-time fights and competitive fights. I always say will draw more fans. There's too much sometimes concentration in boxing with the man himself, just a big-name fighter, and they think that that's going to interest people all the time. It will for some fan base, but you're going to get matchups makes a difference. When you get a great fight, that's what's going to draw more people. So I think ESPN and Top Rank have it going well right now, but I think everyone else, until the fans get back in the stands, boxing cannot survive with these mismatches, with these terrible fights. A lot of guys are sitting on the sidelines for that reason also, and I think it's hurting definitely the growth. It won't go away because, as Larry Merchant once infamously said, nothing can kill boxing, nothing can save it. It kind of is its own thing that's going to generate big time money for some names. In the heavyweight division, when you can get the Joshua Furies and Wilder fighting again, that's going to give a bit of a push as well. But right now, you look at the ESPN top ranked schedule for fall, that is looking promising. But everything else right now, it's MMA and the UFC is dominating. When you look at the Khabib card, it's happening at the end of October, and you got to give credit to them for putting those type of events. But that's because it can generate one organization, and they're also not paying the guys as much as they would be in boxing, right? So now that's the big difference is the ticket revenue not being there. No fighter wants to take a pay cut of the big names. And it's unfortunate because you're seeing fighters in their primes like Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, who could draw fans. They're sitting in the prime of their careers, on the sidelines right now.
Yeah, it's too bad, and it does show that the UFC being the promotion, the UFC sells when the stars don't. It kind of does help the business move forward, right? So it's something that boxing doesn't quite have right now, but they do have big stars. You talked about the Tyson Fury, and man, that's a fight I want to see, man. I want to see Tyson Fury back in there, but what's the story with him? There's no date yet. They were going to do it in Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia or something.
Well, here's the situation. Wilder theoretically has a contractual rematch to fight a third trilogy fight. Now, that was the last big boxing fight prior to the whole pandemic situation. But really, Fury, Wilder both won guarantees that are unattainable without at least 10 to 15,000 people in the stands. So right now, that's an issue. The other thing is Wilder has been a ghost throughout this in the last few months. Nobody knows. He hasn't done any media. He's been completely MIA. He was supposed to change trainers prior to the pandemic, or at least change parts of his team because of all the excuses he came up with for the rematch getting dominated by Fury. Fury has even stated that he'd rather fight Joshua right away, which I think is a much bigger fight right now. Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury, especially if you can fill it in a soccer stadium early next year. Fury Wilder, there's rumors of maybe a December at the earliest matchup, but if not, it's going to be early next year. But if Wilder at one point doesn't insist on the fight and lets his contractual rematch go because he doesn't feel ready mentally to face Fury again, then you might see Fury fight Anthony Joshua. But in the meantime, Joshua has a mandatory defense against a guy named Kubrat Pulev, who's a decent fighter, but a fighter Joshua should be able to win.
Yeah, and that's not what we want to see, It's just like, it's a roadblock fight, kind of get out of the way.
The belt's always there to add some, mandatory fights that who knows where they came up with. The rankings is almost as crazy as we would think. Yeah.
I saw Tyson Fury wanted to wrestle Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, so that might be the next time we see Tyson Fury in a ring. I don't know.
What about the Stipe fight, Dave? I've heard Stipe still wants to fight Tyson Fury instead of Ngannou.
He'll take the money, whatever pays the best. He'll fight John Jones. He'll fight whoever will pay him the best. We talk about the lack of kind of star power and the big names here in boxing, and I think it brings us back to Mike Tyson. Like, we're still talking about Mike Tyson for some reason. He's gonna fight in 2 months against Roy Jones. Now, I know he's bigger than Roy Jones, and he's Mike Tyson, and there was a video where he looked really good, and he looks in shape and everything. But am I crazy to think that Mike Tyson has no chance whatsoever and is going to get obliterated because, did you see the last time he was in a ring, man? It was sad. Like, I don't see Mike Tyson as a fighter anymore. I see him as a cartoon character more than anything.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Dave. Part of me is I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to this fight in the first place. It's now been postponed from September to November. And here's the other thing. The California State Commission has been very clear that this is an exhibition bout. Now, everyone associated with the fight with Tyson and Roy Jones's camp is kind of hush, hush. Don't, we're going to pretend like Tyson is going out because they want to draw people for nostalgic reasons, right? They know this is not going to be a real fight. It's more like an exhibition. Me as a fight fan, I don't want to see it because I think it hurts the credibility of the sport that these guys are going to draw much more attention to any, let's say, the Lomachenko-Lopez fight that deserves more attention for people who want to see elite level boxing. But when you're talking about Tyson and Roy Jones, you're talking about two of the 30 best fighters of all time. So, of course, you're going to get people, especially when Tyson in the training videos, but all of these videos are carefully edited. You never see any sparring of hitting coming back. I think Tyson, because of his weight, size advantage, and the fact that Roy Jones, his biggest weakness is the ability to take a punch. Tyson has a chance of winning this fight, but don't forget, this is not even going to be 10-ounce gloves. These are going to be special, like sparring gloves almost, that are going to be used. The referee is looking at this as a glory. I think a lot of this is going to be very much an exhibition. It's mostly going to be attracting people who are going to feel very disappointed if they think it's going to be some sort of savage mastery performance from a vintage Tyson. It's not going to happen. In fact, I just hope it doesn't look too sad, because these guys have been great warriors in the past. And again, a lot of times they get bored. They need money. It's the easiest thing to do a pay-per-view to attract a few bucks. But I'm not a big fan of the idea.
I think it's going to look
but
sad as hell. I think it's going to be very sad.
But Matt, I was gonna say is like, you know, with like people that are listening to the show that are like really don't understand boxing, when you're saying like an exhibition match, what does that mean exactly? Are they allowed to like do uppercuts? Are they allowed to drive the guy into the corner of the ring and just like work the body like to a point? What exactly can and can't they do in an exhibition match?
Well, great question, AJ. First and foremost, it means it doesn't officially count as their record. That's one thing. The other is they kind of look at it as, if somebody's getting really hurt, they might intervene. The point of an exhibition bout is mostly to be like a glorified sparring session. It's not that you're not supposed to try and knock the guy out in the first 30 seconds. The referee is supposed to intervene if the exchanges become too violent. But that's one point. I don't want to advertise too much, because then where's the appeal of wanting to fight us and knock somebody out, right? And not only that, you really think Roy Jones and Mike Tyson haven't really, if they agreed on this, do you really think one of them wants to get humiliated and knocked out in their 50s when they're both in retirement stages, Hall of Fame fighters? I'm sure this is going to look good. A few exchanges at times. People are going to like the ring entrances. I'd be very, very surprised if they're allowed to go all in and blitz. Now, some people think Tyson is going to go and he's going to agree to exhibition, and then he's going to go all in to knock the guy out, because that's who Mike Tyson is. He's not going to be able to control himself. We'll see. If that happens, it'll be interesting. But Roy Jones has the faster hands, the better offense at this stage than Tyson. But Tyson has the weight advantage. He looks to be in great shape, and he definitely can take a better punch than Roy can at this stage of their careers.
I think they're going to work themselves into a shoot, brother. It's going to be a work. They're going to be like, we're going to go out there. We're going to have a good time. And then they're going to work themselves into a shoot, and Mike Tyson is going to throw a couple punches. He's going to get hit a couple times. He won't like it. He'll start going a little crazy, and then Roy Jones is going to avoid him, and then he's going to pop him, and Mike Tyson's going to fall down, because Mike Tyson's super old. He's been, come on, man. Like, here's why I think Roy Jones is going to win. Because Mike Tyson hasn't fought in so long. Roy Jones is the more active fighter. And to me, if you're telling me who is a real boxer in 2020, who is an actual boxer, it's Roy Jones. Roy Jones is a real boxer. Mike Tyson, he used to be a boxer. He's a caricature.
No, dude. You're disrespecting Mike Tyson there, Dave.
That's fine.
Let's not forget.
I'm going to do that.
No.
Come on.
That's terrible, dude. Let's not forget.
Terrible.
This is Mike Tyson.
It's terrible.
I've seen this
He's a
guy.
rapist.
I've seen this guy.
He's a
like,
rapist.
No,
He's a rapist.
No.
Did he not? Did he not go to jail for rape?
Whoa.
Sorry, guys. Did he not do that?
That's all questionable.
Wait,
That's
Dave,
all
everybody went to
questionable.
jail. There's never been any mistakes of anyone who's been to jail.
Oh, no.
There's
People,
never been any
there's
mistakes.
definitely been mistakes, but I'm not sure it was a mistake with Mike Tyson.
He was set up, man.
I'm not convinced.
Tyson was set up.
Oh, okay.
Tyson was set up, Dave. We'll get into a story one day on that. We'll have a whole...
But AJ is right about one thing, though. Mike Tyson is in better shape now than he was when he fought his last fights professionally in the mid-2000s. Like, if you look at that Danny Williams fight, Tyson was finished on that. He's actually at least showing in better shape than he has since probably the late 90s.
But he's very old. He's much older. It doesn't
Dude,
matter.
but Matt,
You're skinnier, but he's
I want to
old.
come in. I remember Mike Tyson a couple of years ago. I forget on what interview, but he broke down and he basically said that he was doing cocaine every day of his life for the past God knows how many years. Am I to believe that now he's clean? Like, honestly, I'm just asking, is Mike Tyson really living a nice life now where I have to believe that he's in
guys
shape
like
for
John
this?
Jones and whoever else has had a trouble pass and says they're clean and run, like you pick and choose, right? I cannot say definitively whether or not, but I will say this: Mike Tyson in his latest interviews, he definitely seems to be much more on the THC than on anything else.
Yeah.
And if you listen to him with Joe Rogan and stuff, he seems to be much more at a peace and calm state than that hyperactive, aggressive, toxic lifestyle he was living. So, look, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I can't, but is he telling the truth or not? Who knows?
But I believe
Weed
that he's.
over coke.
I believe that he's not doing coke. I believe that he's just smoking a lot of weed, and that's great. I totally think that's fine.
And Dave,
but hold on, AJ. But I did see him on Joe Rogan, and I did hear him talk about working out, and he was like, oh yeah,
Exactly.
I was fucking exhausted. I was all fucked up. Like, yeah, man. And that video you saw, that was 30 seconds after that, I was on the floor. It's like, okay, like he's telling you, man, like he's not really in good shape. Like he looks the part, but like you can look the part and not be ready for a fight. Like I don't believe this shit with Mike Tyson. Like Nick Diaz, you saw the video before. Nick Diaz looks the part,
Cocaine makes
but
the fat go away.
I don't believe Nick Diaz is ready to fight. I don't believe Mike Tyson is ready to fight. The only difference is Mike Tyson signed on the dotted line. And did you see what Mike Tyson said about signing the contract? He's like, oh, shit, did I really just do this? Oh, okay, I guess I'm going to fight. Like, this is not a calculated move. It's like, oh, okay, I guess, shit. And they offered a bunch of guys to him. At first, he was going to fight Bob Sapp. Now, Bob Sapp is a guy who throws fights. Like, that made sense. I was like, yeah, Mike Tyson will throw a punch. It'll hit air. Bob Sapp will fly across the ring, and the fight will end, and that'll be that. And then they're offering all sorts, Evander Holyfield, different names were offered to Mike Tyson, and he was like, oh yeah, like smoking weed, maybe I'll do that, that sounds fun. And then they're like, yeah, how about Roy Jones? He's like, okay man, sure, I'll sign that contract. And he's like, did I just do that? And then he's like training, he's like, oh fuck, I'm regretting this. Like, this is not a move for Mike. Like, this is not a smart move. He's not thinking about this. He's gonna get fucked up.
Well, Dave, this is why. Let's see, first of all, if we get to the actual fight in November. I think there's a lot of hurdles left. It's been more of a fantasy than a reality at this point. But you know why they made the fight still? Is because when that happened, my phone blew up more than any other fight, in the last year easily, which just goes to show how sad it is that we still have to go and get these retread fighters. And even if De La Hoya comes back. Now, this is another guy, De La Hoya, who now obviously is bored, needs the money, wants to fight at 47 years old after getting destroyed by Pacquiao 12 years ago. And the only guy I want to see De La Hoya fight is Conor McGregor. Let's give the fight between two train wrecks, and let's have that happen. I want to see that fight. If I want to see De La Hoya, Dana White would not fight De La Hoya, but that would be a great fight, and with all the back and forth, behind the scenes. But obviously, Dana's not going to take the fight. He's smarter than that. But De La Hoya, McGregor, but a lot of these guys, it's the amount of fighters who want to come back when they're bored is sad, and almost to they're ruined kind of their legacies with these things, but. Let's wait and see if it actually happens. And I think the Tyson one is a perfect example of don't get too excited if you're a Mike Tyson fan, because I don't think it's a done deal for by any stretch.
Cocaine isn't cheap. That's what Dana White said about Oscar De La Hoya. That was the best. Well, they're like, hey, Dana, Oscar De La Hoya is talking about coming back. Dana's like, yeah, well, cocaine isn't cheap. It's expensive. You must need the money.
I know.
It was great.
And I have to beg Dana for saying some crazy uncensored stuff that no other president or commissioner of anything would say. But at the same time, it's that's a bit of a low blow as well. Dana's been giving a lot of cheap shots between De La Hoya back and forth ever since De La Hoya crapped on the Mayweather-McGregor fight. Dana's been hating De La Hoya, and De La Hoya hates Dana White. But that is a bit of a cheap shot coming from a lot of guys in the MMA who struggle with substance abuse. I understand where Dana was coming from, but he's got to be careful when he looks at his Conor McGregor. You don't think Conor McGregor, he's taking video selfies on the beach with alcohol and powder in his hand? Come on.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
You're right, man.
A good friend of yours, Oscar.
You know what? Put De La Hoya versus Dana White.
Hold on, AJ.
Box again. I just wondered if you had any.
Cocaine isn't cheap. It's expensive. Got to make money.
I mean, he's right.
Oh, shit.
I mean,
it's funny. It's
the
just
truth
funny.
cannot be a low blow, man. The truth is the truth.
What's that, Matt?
Matt, you know what? I was saying you put De La Hoya versus Dana White. Dana White used to be a former boxer, and they're roughly the same age. I think Dana's 50. De La Hoya is what, 47, you said? Put them in the ring. What? I'll pay to see that.
No.
Yeah,
Dana's already said
man.
he won't do that. Dana's supposed to fight Dan Le Batard, I think. That's the other fight he's supposed to get in and kick the shit out of Dan Le Batard.
What?
Yeah, that'd be easy. That would be easy. That's easy work for Dana. Are you kidding me? I mean,
Le Batard's still 6'3", 250, so.
Yeah, but don't you think he'd be easy work, Fred? Come on. You've seen the guy. He's not trained.
I mean, I think it'd be an awful fight, period. No matter... No clue who would win.
This is sad that this is where boxing is. The top draws are Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, Dan Le Batard, and who's that YouTube guy? Jake Paul or whatever?
Yeah.
Jake Paul,
that's a disaster. That's the other disaster.
You know
that's supposed to be the undercard. That Logan Paul's brother is supposed to fight Nate Robinson, the former NBA player, is supposed to be on the undercard. You can just tell that this is going to be a train wreck and probably
for Mike Tyson. That's for the Mike Tyson thing, right? Holy shit.
Yeah.
What a mess. What
I
a
predict
mess.
it won't happen.
Look,
I don't think it'll happen.
It might
either.
happen. It might happen. It might happen. And you know what?
It shouldn't.
And there's like pros and cons to this whole thing. And like you said, Matt, you know, you're looking at guys that were like
Pros and
beasts
cons.
of the 80s
Pros
and
and cons.
the 90s.
That's a good
man.
word. There's some professionals, there's some convicts, it's pros and
And
cons.
there's con
That's what they
artists.
should call the
It is,
show.
man.
Yeah. Pros and
But
cons.
the thing is that, like, you know, look, I grew up watching Tyson. I grew up watching Evander Holyfield and all the rest of those guys. And you know what? You're right. As
Muhammad
soon as I hear
Ali, Joe
Tyson's
Louis.
name, I get excited. I did see Muhammad Ali.
Joe Louis,
I
you
seen
grew
them
up
all.
watching. Yeah. Yeah. We know.
Hey, listen,
You saw
man.
Hans
But the
Schmidt,
thing-
right?
You saw Ali
Dave,
beat
Dave.
Liston?
Who's Hans
Let
Schmidt?
AJ finish his point, Dave.
Sorry.
My point is this, is that when you look back at those old names that you grew up with, it's very exciting, and it brings you back into those boxing days. Because I can tell you, when I was watching boxing with my dad and my uncles, some of them were like Golden Glove boxers, and back in the days, I'll tell you, it was exciting. We used to be packed like around that television, and it was such a strong spirit that boxing was king. And that's what MMA is, that feel now. You get like your buddies and you're around that television, and you can really get into the main card fight. But you're also sinking into the prelims that really drive who the future is. And you know, back in the days of boxing, the biggest mistake was focusing on the major, like the big names, and not really pushing along all the rest that are going to need to ride that throne in the future. And that's the problem. So when you're bringing a guy like Tyson back into today, we're making fun of him in a sense. But you know what? He's bringing the name of boxing back, and you have to capture somehow or another the fighters who are really busting their ass around the world in the ring. And there's some boxers out there that are not getting the exposure because the money's not there, man. Boxing doesn't have the
But you
money,
gotta give it to them.
you know, at
Gotta
those
give it to
level
'em.
fights.
Gotta give
You
it
got to
to
give it to them. But what I'm saying is that, you know, make fun of Tyson or not, but if you can take that con fight in a sense and actually, like, you know, you could have had that fight and then really present like some quality boxing in that circuit, it could be interesting because you know what?
Sorry, AJ, but the Mike Tyson, could bring some exposure and more fans. But really, what's going to grow the sport is having the Ryan Garcias of the world fight the people, having Canelo and Triple G fight, having Errol Spence fight Terrence Crawford, Deontay Wilder against Anthony Joshua. Get the guys who are in their primes to fight each other on a regular basis, and I guarantee you that will grow the interest level of the sport much more than bringing back these nostalgic guys. And yes, you can do a better job on the undercard of promoting the up-and-coming fighters. Back in the day, like you were saying, in the Tyson days, Don King used to fill the undercards with quality guys that people would then learn afterwards and see in main events of themselves. So I understand your point, but I think the biggest issue remains, and it's not getting any better with what's going on now, is until you can get consistently top 5 guys facing each other, the rest is just going to be spinning the wheels. Once in a while, they'll get the big event, but it won't be on any sort of consistent basis.
Matt Casavant, follow him on Twitter at MCAZ, MCAZ. He is your man for boxing and Chicago Bears football as well. Go Bears. Right?
Loyal fan, one playoff appearance in like 15 years. What about your Yankees, Dave? What's going on with your Yankees?
Look, it's not been going well since Aaron Judge has been hurt. I'm not enjoying what's been happening over the past couple of weeks. They won last night, though, so that was nice. Big celebration after the win last night. Yeah, finally. So that was good. We lost like 2 or 3 from the Blue Jays. That sucked, but hey, season's almost over, and hopefully we'll make the playoffs, and then we'll play Tampa, and then we'll get beat by Tampa again, which sucks. So,
hey, can I ask you a final question here before I go?
Yeah, for sure.
Khabib,
We've been asking
GSP,
all the questions.
Khabib GSP, you think it happens next year?
If Gaethje loses, I think it does happen, yeah. I think
Khabib is destroying Gaethje. It's not even close.
Probably. Gaethje is tough.
I know, Dave, but here's why. The asterisk is Khabib's father passing away. That will motivate it. There's no way. It's impossible Khabib loses that fight because of that. And, like, he's going to be so motivated to prove and to like dominate out of respect and out of honoring his father. To me, that's like the X factor. When Buster Douglas's mother passed away, gave him the knockout win against Mike Tyson all these years ago. Like, I think there's a human element to that. I think Khabib is going to be so laser focused, so wanting to prove and make have the pride of his father there. I think he's going to destroy Gaethje. Otherwise, I think it's a much closer fight with the performance Gaethje had of late.
How did Tyson do after Cus D'Amato passed away?
Well, I mean, it's a bit different because what happened after Casavant passed away, that's when Tyson started to spiral out of control outside the ring. I don't think you have that with Khabib.
Probably
Khabib's
not.
laser focus.
Probably not, but his dad, is also his head coach, his main, he's always been there. I don't know. I think it might motivate him extra to do his father proud, but without having him there, it might, without having him as his coach, I don't know how it'll affect Khabib. So I'm not really sure.
You know what?
And I think Gaethje is probably the toughest guy that Khabib's ever fought. So it's not going to be easy.
Well, outside of if Conor had taken the training camp more seriously.
No. Gaethje is way more dangerous than Conor ever was for Khabib because Gaethje actually can defend a takedown. Gaethje is a high-level wrestler.
Exactly.
Gaethje's really
dangerous.
dangerous.
If Gaethje stuffs the takedown,
it's over.
It's going to be an issue for Khabib.
If Gaethje stuffs the takedown, Khabib's getting knocked the fuck out. That's what's happening.
No.
Khabib doesn't have the hands.
His striking is not that bad.
It's not as good as Gaethje's. He doesn't have the hands.
No, I agree.
He doesn't have the hands or the chin to deal with Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is
Eddie Alvarez. Didn't Eddie Alvarez
force.
gave a beating to Justin Gaethje, and Khabib has better striking than Alvarez?
It's a tornado type of fight, but I'm telling you, Gaethje now, watch that fight against Tony Ferguson. He's much better than he was against Eddie Alvarez. He's much better now.
No, Gaethje looked elite against Ferguson. And I remember that was the only sporting event going on, and the UFC was first, and people seem to forget that. But I have to give him credit. That was a great pay-per-view, and Gaethje painted Ferguson's face. Like, it was crazy. It was an elite performance from Gaethje, but I just think Khabib's on one step above. That's why I want to see the GSP fight next year.
I agree.
Yeah, I think Khabib probably wins. He probably does what he does to everybody else, to Justin Gaethje. He won't do it to GSP, though. I'll tell you that much. GSP is going to be Khabib's kryptonite.
You got to give him that.
You got to give it to him. Matt Casavant, it's always good talking to you, man. Good to see you.
Matt.
Awesome, guys. Take care.
There he is. Follow him on Twitter at MCAZ, MCAZ. Our man talking professional boxing. That was good stuff with Matt. Always good to talk to our buddy.
You know what? I was going to ask him one question, but I knew you were going to cut me off there, but
it's good to cut you off.
You were going to ask like 10 questions, man.
Yeah. You're going to...
No, I was going to ask one out of the 10, but this one was going to be a good one. I was going to ask about the local boxing scene. I want to know what happened to Adonis. What's going on with him? I don't know.
He just sold his house or something.
He quit fighting.
What?
I mean,
no? Adonis had he was in the coma for a while, man. He's not fighting ever again, man.
Yeah. He's done.
That's what I want to know.
I told you.
He's done officially.
Yeah, he is. I just told you.
He got screwed. He got screwed by his ex-wife right now.
Really?
Which is kind of that's in the news where she took a bunch of his money. And I think today or yesterday there was a story about Adonis putting his big house for sale. I think he might be having some issues. But with that said, if you know his history of being a pimp and abusing people and taking people's money, are you really going to cry for somebody that loses their money today when they did it to other people? I'm not.
Nope.
Sorry.
Moving on.
That's the type of guy I am.
That's it. I don't really care. I cry no tears for him. We can move right along. Let's get to Lyoto Machida. There's a guy with respect. There's a guy you can respect and say, that guy is a real martial artist. That guy is dedicated. That guy is a man so dedicated that he used to drink his own urine every day.
What?
Because he thought that gave him powers. It's true. It's true. Lyoto Machida will be fighting
him, man.
Phil Davis. I don't think so. His dad actually told him to do it. Lyoto Machida versus Phil Davis taking place tomorrow night at the Mohegan Sun. Now, Machida and Davis have fought before, and Davis
in 2013,
won.
Man.
Davis won a unanimous decision that was pretty close. And a little bit controversial, if I remember correctly, although that was 7 years ago, so maybe my memory is foggy. But I remember thinking, maybe Lyoto won that fight, even though they gave it to Phil. Or maybe not, because that was in Rio de Janeiro, and Davis won unanimous, so I guess Davis probably
I think Davis.
But it was...
Yeah, I think Davis won that
I don't
fight.
remember that fight.
It was it didn't look like a unanimous decision. I remember that fight, and it could have went either or, but they really gave it to Davis as unanimous, which everybody was kind of booing and whatnot. So I'm kind of with you, Dave. I thought Machida won that one.
But it was in Brazil too, so I don't know. This time the odds makers have Phil Davis as a huge favorite, -365. Lyoto Machida +305. The underdog seems about right. Lyoto's a little bit older now. He's 42.
Yeah.
coming off a loss to Gegard Mousasi by split decision. Before that, though, he won 4 in a row, and Gegard Mousasi is still very tough. So I'm not sure Lyoto's fully done here. You know, I don't think Lyoto is ineffective as an MMA fighter. Davis is 35. He's been good for a while, you know, a solid fighter, but I think he probably takes this here from Lyoto Machida. He beat him the last time. It's an interesting fight, though. You know, I like this fight from Bellator. It's two guys you know. They've been in the game for a while. This is a big-name matchup. Odds makers have Lyoto as a heavy dog. Seems about right, but I don't know. I could see Lyoto pulling it off. Never count Lyoto Machida out. He's one dragon kick away from winning the whole fight, right? I love Lyoto Machida.
True,
I've
good
always
point.
been a fan. You know, the fact that he's fighting again. When's the last time Lyoto fought? September 2019. It's been a year. Over a year since we... Well, just under a year, I guess. The 28th of September 2019. It's been a while since we've seen Lyoto. Who doesn't like Lyoto Machida?
Yeah, Lyoto is a veteran. We love him. It's probably going to come down to whether Phil Davis could corner Lyoto and get his hands on him. If Lyoto moves all along and Davis cannot corner him anytime and clinch and bring him to the ground, this is going to be Lyoto's fight. But I feel like Davis being 35, still probably in his prime, more than Lyoto, I'm going to go with Phil Davis winning tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we're all going with Phil
Or
Davis.
the day Saturday, I mean.
No, it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, okay.
Yeah, it's on Friday. Yeah, there's 2 fights.
Friday night
Friday,
Bellator.
Saturday.
They also have Kat Zingano making her Bellator debut, taking on Gabby Holloway. Don't know much about Holloway. Ed Ruth takes on Taylor Johnson, and Raymond Daniels, famous kickboxer Raymond Daniels, taking on Peter Stanonik. Raymond Daniels is a serious martial artist. This guy's been around for a long time, serious kickboxer, 40 years old, multiple world champion kickboxer. Hey, Jay, you know about Raymond Daniels, right?
I remember his
badass.
kickboxing career, but I don't
Very
I don't really know much about the MMA career. But
Well, he's 2-1
I
so
thought you
far
were
in
going to talk
MMA.
about.
What?
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow. No, I thought you were going to talk about another fight that's going to be on, which I want to see. Is if it's still on, I'm not even sure. But the John Fitch fight
That's on Saturday.
versus Naaman Gracie.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that the
So-
Saturday? Okay.
Yeah, but also tomorrow you've got Rafael Carvalho in the prelims taking on Alex Polizzi, Leslie Smith on the prelims against Amanda Bell. This is a good Bellator card tomorrow. And then on Saturday, it's Juan Archuleta versus Patchy Mix for the vacant Bellator bantamweight title. And the co-main event is Neiman Gracie versus John Fitch. They also have Liz
Oh, so that's
Carmouche.
Saturday.
Liz Carmouche against Deanna Bennett. It's a solid card from
Wow.
Bellator. Both nights are solid.
Yeah.
John Fitch, Neiman Gracie. You like that fight, AJ? Who do you got? Gracie?
Yeah, I want my heart wants to go with Gracie, but to be honest, man, John Fitch is John Fitch, man. That's the thing, and
He is John Fitch. That's true.
yeah, probably this back in the days of George, he was probably the second best fighter in the world at that point. So look, I'm gonna go with John Fitch to win this fight.
John Fitch plus 100, the underdog. Neiman Gracie minus 120, the favorite. So it's a toss-up there. The odds makers have Patchy Mix as the favorite, minus 165 over Juan Archuleta. That is going to be a very good fight. Patchy
Who is
Mix
this
is good,
guy?
man. He's undefeated.
It's a good name.
He's 13-0, 27 years old, from the state of New York. Very tough fighter, very, very good. A lot of submission wins, mostly in the first round. A variety of submissions, knee bars, guillotines, rear naked chokes. Juan Archuleta, 24-2 as a pro, 32 years old, from California. He is very good as well. He's got a solid Bellator record. This is going to be a hell of a fight on Saturday. It might be the best pure MMA fight going all weekend as far as the two best fighters fighting. I think this is the best fight all weekend. I know the UFC has an event as well, but for me, Patchy Mix versus Juan Archuleta, that's the fight of the weekend. As far as,
Well, man,
Machida
come
too.
on.
I like to see Machida, but
John
Patchy
Fitch
Mix,
fight. I mean, that's
Patchy Mix and Archuleta is the big fight. Fitch is past his prime. I'm talking about guys that are legit two of the best fighters in
man.
their weight division in the world. Like, I'm talking about the most high-level fight going this weekend. It's probably for the Bellator bantamweight title between Patrick Mix and Juan Archuleta. I'm going to go with Patrick Mix for the win. I like Patchy. That's the deal.
I don't know
Fred has no
much
pick.
about him.
Yeah,
so
it's okay. You
I'm
don't
gonna,
have to
I'm
pick.
going to go just because I like – it's okay. I like his name. So just for the fact, I hope that Patchy wins, man.
All right.
Just for
Fred,
the name, man. That's
Fred,
it.
what do you think about Neiman Gracie and John Fitch? Where are you going there? I'm going with I'm going to go with Gracie. AJ's going with Fitch. What do you like?
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Gracie also. Fitch, probably at the end
Wow.
of his career. If anything, he's up for the taking.
All right.
I agree.
I'll hold you that because you know, guys, I won 2 weeks in a row now. So
No, you didn't. You
I'm
lost
going to remember
last
this
week.
fight.
You weren't here last week.
No.
and you lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would never go against Overeem.
No.
You picked Sakai.
Yeah, you picked
It's on
Sakai.
tape.
Yeah, we were there. We all saw the show last week, AJ. How about the UFC show this weekend? UFC has a card. It is Michelle Waterson versus Angela Hill in the main event. Hill minus 125, the favorite. Waterson plus 105, the underdog.
For real?
The
I got
Karate Hottie.
Waterson.
Yeah? She's struggled,
It's a
though.
good matchup, man. It could go either way. Yeah,
Isn't
but
she?
Angela Hill, she's a good fighter, but she's not. I don't know. I think it's a 50-50 matchup. I'll go with Michelle Waterson.
Hill coming off a split decision
Listen,
loss
it's
to
5 rounds, eh?
Claudia Gadelia. Waterson coming off a couple of losses. Split decision to Carla Esparza, and the loss to Joanna Jędrzejczyk before then. Yeah, interesting
I don't know,
fight
man.
here.
Listen, 5 rounds. You know, the problem with the Karate Hottie, man, to be able to go 5 rounds, I don't think it's going to happen. You've got, like, Hill, who has she's taller, she has a longer reach, the whole 9 yards. For sure, the Karate Hottie is amazing in striking, but to go 5 rounds against Hill, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Hill's going to win this by decision.
Yeah, I think Angela Hill probably takes this one either by decision, maybe a TKO in the late rounds. She's a slight favorite, as we mentioned, minus 125. I agree with that. I've been more impressed with what I've seen from Angela Hill lately over Michelle Waterson.
Actually, I made a mistake. She doesn't have a height advantage. She has a reach advantage, but the thing is that they're both 5'2", so there is no advantage in the height. But if it goes the distance, yeah, Hill is taking it.
The co-main event is this one. This one is between two people I've never heard of. Otman Azaitar versus Kama Worthy. Who? Kama Mustafa? The Supreme Fighting Machine? You guys remember Kama Mustafa? This guy's name's Kama Worthy.
Yeah.
Shango.
Yeah, Papa Shango, exactly. AJ, you don't know what I'm talking about. And before
No.
I mentioned a guy named Hans Schmidt when we were talking to Matt, I thought it was like an old boxer. It's actually an old wrestler name. I got some names confused.
You're thinking about Schmeichel.
Who?
He used to be the German fighter.
Yeah,
It's
like a
some
German guy.
fighter
What was his
back
name?
in the days. Schmeichel or something like that.
Wasn't he in
He
like
was a
Cinderella
fighter back
Man?
in. Yeah,
Max,
I think they had something about Max Schmeichel.
Max
He
Bayer?
died like a couple of years ago.
Max Bayer, maybe?
Max Schmeichel. Anyways, he fought back in 1940 or something like that. Yeah,
Anyways.
he was like a.
Hans Schmidt was a
Anyways,
wrestler
back-
Hans Schmidt was a pro wrestler from Joliet, Quebec, who played a Nazi. There's pictures of him like doing the Nazi salute, and he's from like Joliet. His real name was Guy LaRose. I love that. A guy named Guy LaRose from Joliet goes on to be
man.
Hans Schmidt, evil Nazi professional wrestler. Fantastic. Gotta love pro wrestling. What the hell? Oh, yeah, Saturday night. So anything else on this card? Because, like, for me, no. I don't like this card at all. Maybe the Roxanne Modafferi fight. Modafferi is against Andrea Lee. That's a good fight, I guess.
It'll be interesting. Ed Herman.
I don't know. You know, Andrea Lee is a big favorite. I'm not too convinced. I like Modafferi. She's good. You can't count her out of any fight.
Yeah,
Andrea
but
Lee
she's aged
minus
up, she's
325. Modafferi plus 265. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Modafferi's good. She's got good grappling. She's solid. Ed Herman is going to be on the main card of this one. Ed Herman been fighting in the UFC since forever. He was supposed to fight right? Like he debuted in hold on, I'll tell you here, 2006.
2006. Yeah.
He was
man.
supposed to fight in July, but his opponent got tested positive for COVID, so his fight got canceled. So he was supposed to fight back in July, and now Herman here fighting on the main card against Mike Rodriguez, and he is an underdog plus 205. Rodriguez minus 245, the favorite. Seems about right.
It's his 40th appearance, man, Ed
My
Herman.
God.
I mean, he's been fighting for so long, but we'll see
Guys,
how he does.
We
you
are
know.
two nights away from this
What?
card. How many fights will be canceled by the time this fight night actually happens? Like, how many people will test
What?
positive for COVID, and how many fights will be canceled? I'm gonna say there's gonna be there's
Las
gonna be
Vegas odds makers?
one positive test and one fight cancellation. I'm gonna say one
One?
between now and then. One, right? Fred?
Are you talking?
Zero.
Are you talking just UFC?
I mean, most of the time when we preview a fight card on, I'm just talking about the UFC card because I don't think Bellator is doing the same amount of tests, if you know what I mean. Kind of like the drug testing. Anyways, so most of the time when we talk about these cards on a Thursday, by Saturday, there's like a fight that's dropped out, right? Like how many times
Or-
have I talked about Magomed Ankalaev beating up Jan Kutalaba, and then we find out, oh no, Kutalaba's got COVID, so that fight's not happening. By the
Again.
way, they rebooked that fight for the 5th time for October 24th at UFC 254, so hopefully in Abu Dhabi it'll take place, but I think there's going to be a fight that'll get canceled. Let me tell you guys.
I'm gonna go. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
go
go
ahead.
with two. I think two are gonna get canceled,
All right.
just because everything is starting to go back up with the COVID infections and whatnot.
Two.
I think I'm going with two. There's gonna listen. How many fights were canceled last week? There were like 2 fights, if I'm not mistaken, right? Taken off the card.
Unbelievable.
So you know what? It's not a joke, but you know what? I wonder if Vegas has odds on this. But if they do, I'm going with 2 on this. 2 COVID results, 2 fights canceled. Bellator, 0.
I want to tell you about our friends over at Stitcher. Go to Stitcher.com/premium. So much great audio there that you can download, over 100,000 podcasts, bonus episodes, comedy albums, and more. You can listen to it on any kind of device that you have. Go to Stitcher.com/premium. Use that promo code Ringside for a free month of Stitcher Premium when you sign up. It's $34.99 a year or $4.99 a month. But when you sign up to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code Ringside, you get a month off. I also want to thank our friends over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code Ringside20 to get 20% off your order plus free shipping. Manscaped.com, promo code Ringside20 for 20% off your order plus free shipping. And, of course, our friends over at IPVanish. Go to vpn.ringsidereport.net to sign up today. vpn.ringsidereport.net. Guys, we are wrapping up. We are wrapping up. There will be no show next week because AJ's out of town and I'm out of town. Everybody's out of town next week. So we're taking, unless Fred wants to do the show solo, which he might, maybe solo Fred next week. I don't know. The people want to see Fred.
That'd be cool, man. Who doesn't
Yeah.
want to see Fred? I want to see Fred.
Everybody wants to see Fred, so maybe Fred will do a solo show next week. If not, it'll be our one week off for the whole year. I mean, we haven't taken a week off all year, I don't think. Have we missed a show all year? No, right?
None. We
Nothing.
were going like straight through. COVID didn't stop us.
Christmas, New
Nothing.
Year's, COVID, nothing. We didn't take a
Hanukkah,
break.
you
I
name
mean,
it.
even-
Like Kwanzaa,
Even
nothing.
at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm going to pat our production team on the back here. At the beginning of the pandemic, when we realized, I think it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday, when we're like, okay, we can't have anybody
We're
in
fucked.
studio anymore. We need to figure this out at a distance. We were on that Thursday. Like, we didn't skip a beat. We didn't miss a single show during the pandemic. We were on. Like, we were all in studio one week, and then the next week we're doing it like this because of pandemic, and, we're still doing it like this, and it gets better and better every week. You see the fancy graphics above me and below me, You see all this cool stuff
Yeah,
that
but
we're
I mean-
doing? Like, we haven't taken a single break all year. I haven't taken a vacation. I didn't go to summer vacation. Usually I take 3 weeks off. I go to Nova Scotia. I'd be gone for a while. There'd be no shows, but I didn't go to Nova Scotia because I wasn't allowed in the province because I didn't want any of us Quebec COVIDers going into Nova Scotia, right? So
I don't think they would have allowed you in anyways.
That's it. Well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't take a summer vacation. I didn't take anything. So next week, I'm taking a mini break. I'm going on a mini break, a little vacation, and God damn it, I've earned it. Giving you watch-alongs every single week, giving you Ringside Report, MMA, giving you Wrestling Uncensored. Big Daddy's tired. Big Daddy needs a break, okay?
No. You know what we got to do? Me, you, and Freddie got to do.
The Canadian Bulldog. I'm calling myself the Canadian Bulldog, Davey Boy Simon, all right? That's my new nickname. What do you think?
I thought it was Super Dave. But
yeah,
I like Super Dave.
I like the
Fantastic
Canadian Bulldog.
Freddie.
Fantastic Freddie is good.
Listen, this is what
Hollywood
we're gonna do for
AJ.
2021. Hollywood AJ, Fantastic Freddie, and Super Dave. And then Genesis Johnny North. But listen, this is what we're going to do for 2021. Since everything went down to Shitsville, but we kept the show going, man. We were still going strong when everybody else was fizzling away. 2021, you're going to tell your girlfriend, Fred's going to tell his girlfriend, and I'm going to say it to mine and Johnny as well. I don't know who Johnny's girlfriend is, but someone out there. And I'm going to tell you this, 2021, we're all going to go to Vegas, man. I'm going to organize it. I'm telling you guys, we're all going to go to Vegas. I'm going to prepare it, and we're going to go watch the UFC fights, and we're going to have, a good time. I'm telling you. So let me just organize it. 2021, Ringside Report is in Vegas.
Really?
Or
I
Abu
don't know.
Dhabi. Yeah. No,
Vegas.
maybe Vegas is better. Yeah,
well,
come on, man. Just
if
let me do it.
if we do the Ringside Report family vacation in Las Vegas.
No, family.
No family?
No family. It's all, No. This is work.
Oh, just us.
Come on, Dave.
So we're not bringing our kids?
You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean.
Come on.
I thought we were going to bring. I thought we were going to bring our
You're not allowed kids in
girlfriends.
Vegas.
I thought we were going to bring our girlfriends and do the Ringside Report triple wedding in Vegas.
No. We do the bachelor party first.
When are we doing our triple wedding, guys?
No. Bachelor party
I'm down.
first.
On YouTube, we all do because we're all we're all shacked up. We're all living in sin with women and children, So we should all have a we should do a wedding. We do a triple wedding. We do it on YouTube. Make it part of the show. I'm telling you, when shows need ratings, what do? They have a fucking wedding. I'm telling you, man, this would work. Pro wrestling does it all the time, man.
Yeah.
When you want
Like
ratings,
90 Day Fiancé, man.
that's
I like
it.
that.
You want to pop a rating on a show, a big TV show? How many weddings have you seen on TV shows? We should do it too. The Ringside Report, triple wedding, leave in Las Vegas style. We all get drunk. Some of us don't show up to our weddings. AJ,
Totally coked out.
Yeah.
John Jones style. That's
Why
cool,
you-
man. I can live with that. Why don't we get Rogan to be like our best man? Or best man. I don't know how he could be one guy for all three of us. Think about the ratings. And listen to this.
I don't
Who do
think
we
he
get
would,
as, like-
I don't think he would accept that. He's like, first of all, he lives in Texas, and I don't think Joe
So what?
Rogan. I don't want to involve Joe Rogan in all this.
Why not, man? It'd be so cool. But listen to this. Who do we get as a priest? We get the Pope. Who do we get, man? Who can we call?
I'm
Elvis.
Jewish. I'm Jewish.
Who, eh?
Elvis.
Elvis,
So
man.
what?
We
We'll
get
get
married by Elvis.
Elvis.
Yeah.
Now that's cool. I can live with that, man.
Elvis
Elvis was
like-
Jewish too, so it's okay.
They have other. Does it have to be Elvis? Couldn't it be like?
What,
Michael
Celine
Jackson? Nah.
No.
Michael Jackson. That'd be cool, man. I could live with that.
Couldn't we get like one of the Tigers from Siegfried and Roy to do it? Or Mike Tyson?
Aren't they dead?
Mike Tyson.
Oh, Mike
should-
Tyson would be
should
awesome. man.
preside. He lives in Vegas. Or Dana White. I mean, come on. Who better than the president of the UFC to preside over our triple wedding for Ringside Report? Honestly, I think Dana should do it. Dana would be the best suited
You know what?
to it.
Look, if Dana
Marry
agrees,
us, Dana.
that would
I
be
mean-
awesome, man.
Fred, you down?
I'll tell you, man.
Fred's
Yeah.
down. The only thing is, we're all down. We just have to convince our girlfriends to do the Ringside Report triple wedding in Vegas with Dana White marrying us off.
Listen. Did you see the comments? Someone, I think it was like Richard. Yeah, Richland Ford said, "Get Bruce Buffer to be the priest." Imagine that. That'd be awesome, man.
Oh, my goodness. Good
Bruce-
God almighty.
John Jones, Dana White, the hookers
Okay.
from Vegas,
What?
and lots of coke.
What?
Now that's a wedding, man.
Well, that's not a family trip, AJ. That's back to the boys'
Who's-
night.
Oh yeah, I'm
Uh-oh.
still thinking about the bachelor party. Forget
Take
that.
it easy.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I'm ending the show before we get ourselves into any more trouble than we're already in, okay? Go to ringsidereport.net. That's our website. We have all the things there. We got Wrestling Uncensored there. Did you watch our AEW All Out Watch-Along? You should have, because
No.
I did it. I did it. Johnny North was there. My brother was there. It was a good time. We do watch-alongs all the time for all the WWE pay-per-views, all the AEW pay-per-views, all the UFC pay-per-views. We're going to do a watch-along on Saturday, September 26th, and we'll be back for another episode of Ringside Report on Thursday, September 24th, because we're taking a little mini break next week. But Wrestling Uncensored will not take a break. Wrestling Uncensored will be back with you Saturday morning at 11 a.m. right here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and when you do, click that bell so you get notifications every time that we are on. For AJ and Fred.
Yeah.
For AJ and Fred, I'm Dave, and this has been Ringside Report. Right?
Oh, don't forget Matt Casavant. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Matt Casavant. Follow him on Twitter at MCaz, M-C-A-Z. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dave Simon MMA. Follow AJ at Danny Bruck. Follow Freddie at Freddie MMA.